Alrighty, testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me? Good. We're gonna be continuing with Echo today. I didn't think I had enough energy in me to do it, but after a good power nap, I don't know why, just suddenly got the urge to finish off the route. Hopefully I can though, because even with the 3-hour stream, seems like we didn't really put a dent into the story yet. So, let's go ahead and dive right back in. Where we last left off, Kudzu had just saved us. So, let's see what happens. Let's see how dark Echo really gets. We should try to keep off the road. In the brush on our way to Duke's house. Despite our situation, the biggest thing on my mind right now is ticks. Funny how my mind works. The faint shouts and yells coming from the town are more frequent now. Another pop comes from that direction. It reminds me of the gun Kudzu had tucked into his waistband. He never used one before, and it took us a solid couple minutes to decide if we should even stick it there. Another pop. I can't help but think that that's where the motel is, where Jenna might be. Here, though, not much out of place outside of the smell of smoke in the breeze. That is, until we come across a body hanging from a tree, about 100 yards from Duke's house. I'm the first to notice it, and when I do, I gasp and instinctively reach for Kutsu. He catches my hand, then looks up as he holds on to me. It's high up, maybe 50 feet, but from the marking on the fur, I think it's a fox. Oh, Jesus. Kutsu whispers next to me as I look away, feeling my stomach turn again. What the hell? How did he get up there? I look back and see that he's hanging by his wrists. I don't think he could have done that himself. Yeah. We both stare up at him for a little while longer, long enough to notice long vertical slashes down his back. Those are the same cuts I saw on the other guy. Kutsu whispers distractedly. But who put him up there? Kutsu's silent, and I keep staring up at the guy, the first dead guy that I've ever seen. Suddenly, all of my motivation to get Leo starts to evaporate. Kutsu rests his hand on my shoulder, and I jump. Sorry. Kutsu pats me. You alright? I'll take you back, okay? That sounded like the best idea in the world right now. I hesitate. When I think of Leo, I imagine him in the same situation I was in with Brian. Duke didn't seem as fucked up, but I had an idea of what he was capable of. That thought makes it feel as if my heart is dropping through the ground, so I grit my teeth and shake my head. No. No. I'm okay. Kutsu looks at me closely, then nods. Okay. Let's move back towards the road, though. I don't think anyone is around right now anyway. I want to move towards the road, too. Mainly because I'm starting to get worried. Mainly because I'm actually starting to worry that moving farther away from the town is really dangerous. Duke's house is dark as we approach it. As we get closer, though, I see flashes of light from the window as well. We both crouch next to the house, behind a small cluster of sagebrush. Alright, so all I can really think to do is knock on the door and see if he's there. I swallow. You'd stay hiding, of course, but if he doesn't come out, I don't know. I may try to put him down right there. But if he does come out, I may try to put him down right there. Then I'd come out and help. Kutsu lets out a low chuckle. Yeah, but again, I'm not sure if that's what I'll do. We might be able to talk him out of this. Yeah, I don't have much faith in that plan. But if he isn't there, well, we'll probably go in and find Leo, alright? Okay. My heart rate picks up as I realize how close we are to making this happen. I start to have second thoughts. Maybe we should have at least looked for the sheriff. Maybe we should have gone straight to the motel. Alright. I can tell Kutsu's nervous, too, as he wipes his hand on his tank top before standing up slowly. Just watch from here. If he comes out with his gun, though, I'm not gonna try anything. He hesitates. And if I get shot or something, don't help. Just run back to my house and start looking for your other friends, I guess. Now I'm really starting to feel unprepared for all of this. Everything's moving way too fast. There isn't really any time, though. We have to save Leo as soon as possible. There's no telling what Duke might be doing with him. As Kutsu starts moving away, I get the urge to hug him. He's done so much for me already, saving me, and now trying to save Leo. By now, he's already halfway across the yard to the house. I hold my breath and watch as Kutsu's dark form melts in with the blackness of the house. It's like he's being swallowed up by it in a way. After a few moments, I hear him knock on the door. I listen, trying to breathe through my mouth instead of whistling through my nose, so I can better hear what's going on. Kutsu knocks again, much more loudly. Hey, it's Kud. I need some help. I look up and down the road, worried someone's gonna hear his shouting. There's a slight rustling behind me, and I look back, eyes wide. I don't see anything at first. But then, I feel like there's a shape behind another grove of sagebrush about 20 feet back. Something's crouched, the moonlight defining its shape in the brush. I squint, completely stopping my breathing. Looks like it has a tail, a really thick one, like an otter. Was it Dale? I can't even tell if it was really a person, though. Chase! Kutsu whispers, shouts, and I jump before stumbling to my feet. The shape behind me doesn't move at all, and I try to reassure myself that it's probably a rock. I jog over to Kutsu, and as he tries to open the door, try not to think too much about what I just saw. Locked. He looks around for a while when he starts moving down the side of the house. Look for a window. Are we gonna break one? Maybe. Should only take us a few minutes to sweep the house, then we can get the hell out. We quickly spot a window at the back of the house. Kutsu looks in and bites his lip. I'm just worried that Duke might still be in there with his gun or something. He bends over, picking up a sizable rock. Welp, not much choice. If I say run, run. Got it? I nod, and Kutsu lifts the rock above his head before smashing it through the window. The sound is probably the loudest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. I cover my own ears, like that's gonna lessen the sound. Kutsu jumps to the side away from the window, reaching back to hold on to me. The fur on Kutsu's body freezes up. I see his ears perk up as far as they can go. Once the final tinkling of the glass has subsided, we both listen. My ears are ringing, but the only other sound I can hear is the chirping of the crickets. Finally, Kutsu lets out a soft breath. Alright, let's go. I help him push out a few more shards of glass. Once that's done, the raccoon hoists himself inside, very carefully maneuvering around the sharp, broken edges. He turns and reaches out to help me. He turns and reaches out to me, helping me through in the same fashion. Even though I'm trying to be careful, when I'm bringing my arm in, it jogs along a jagged edge of glass sticking out from the side. I grimace, the fiery pain taking a moment to really set in. Shit, you okay? He grabs my wrists so he can pull my arm to examine it by the moonlight and sucks in a breath. Oh, fuck. You might need stitches for that. That's when I see the blood starting to ooze from the fur. It's only about an inch long, but the amount of blood coming out is surprising. Damn it. I'll take care of it after we find Leo. I pull my arm away, despite Kutsu still trying to take a look at it. Alright, I'll see if we can't find something to wrap it up. Kutsu starts fumbling along the wall and finds a light switch. I'm surprised to see a fairly quaint and tidy home. Unlike Kutsu's trailer, though, there's barely anything in it. There's a single sofa, a very old-fashioned TV in what I presume is the living room. There's a fireplace and a few dirty-looking chairs on the other end of the room. In front of us, a long hallway with a few doors on both sides. Alright, check every room and every end door. It's not a very big house. Kutsu sets off down the hall. Look for stairs. I feel like he'd be in the basement. As Kutsu goes into the room on the left, I appear in the one on the right. It looks like a bedroom with a single twin in the middle of the room. Take a few steps back, looking around and not seeing anything else. When I turn back, I do see some picture frames hung up on the wall. Seems kind of odd for someone like Duke to have those up. In the pictures I see a much younger Duke, or at least a pre-meth Duke. Next to him, a female weasel. Her smile small compared to Duke's tooth-bearing grin. She's in 3 other pictures next to that one too. Weird. I wouldn't have thought anyone would want to be with Duke, especially someone as pretty as that weasel. I move to the next room, and this one's completely empty, painted white. The next door down is the last one on the right side of the hall. This is the only door that's closed, and like the last room's walls, it's painted white. It's taller, and seems to be thicker than the other doors. When I try the knob, it's locked. Kutsu! I whisper and Kutsu pokes his head out from the door behind me. What's up? I point at the door in front of me. This one's locked. Kutsu stands up in the front of the door and presses his ear to it. I see his hand hover in front of the crack between the door and its frame, then reaches out to my hand and pulls it to the same spot. He looks at me. You feel that? I'm about to say no, but that's when there's a noticeably cooler draft coming from within. It's kind of cold. The basement. I'd bet my ass that Leo's down there. I swallow. Should we try to break down the door or something? I don't. Kutsu's ears suddenly perk up straight and his eyes widen. My fur bristles out. What? That's when I hear the crunching of gravel. Kutsu grabs my arms and starts pushing me back down the hall, towards the back room with the broken window. At that moment, I hear the knob turn, and my path changes direction as Kutsu steers me into a room on our left. It's one of the rooms I hadn't looked in myself, and I see that it's a storage room. Boxes are everywhere, and so is a bunch of junk. I guess that explains why all the other rooms are so spotless, and that he's not using his basement for storage. Kutsu looks around desperately for a moment and pulls me behind a mountain of boxes, just as I hear the door swinging open. The problem ain't that he got away. Duke is practically screeching when he comes inside, as if he's been waiting to be indoors before he yelled. Underneath Duke's padded feet on the wooden floor, I hear 2 loud thumps, and I know immediately who's with him. My blood runs cold, and my breathing seems to stop. Worried that they'll be able to hear even that. If he's behind all this, he's gonna make things so much worse. Huh? I hear a non-committal grunt from the bear, and I shudder at the sound of his voice again. I feel a light touch on my back as Kutsu rests his hand there, trying to comfort me. What do you mean, huh? You like the dreams you're having right now? 'Cause trust me, it's gonna get a hell of a lot worse. I hear a smacking sound which I imagine is Duke's tiny hand trying to slap Brian in the face. What the fuck you staring at? Duke's grating, nasally voice echoes around the carpetless house. Your window. There's a moment of silence as I hear some shifting around. Then suddenly, I hear Duke's footsteps bustle down the hall. I duck more deeply behind the boxes as he passes the doorway to our room. Fuck! Fuck! Is someone fucking in here? Brian's lumbered down the hall, basically standing right in front of our room. I hear 2 more thumps and a bunch of rustling as Duke ineffectively beats the bear's bulk. Fucking idiot. They broke in. I hear a jingling of keys as Duke continues to shout. Check every fucking room. I'll bet they broke through the basement window too. Fuck! Now that he says it, breaking through the basement window might have been a better idea. Looking between a crack in the boxes, I got a flash of the weasel walking past the door again. He's holding something long and shiny. I shrink back against the boxes, wondering how in the world I got here. As I stare at the ground, I also wonder if I'm about to have a heart attack. I focus on watching the blood seeping from my arm, pulling on the wooden floor next to me. I hear a key go into a lock and a doorknob turn. I swear to God, if that wolf ain't down there, I'll blow your goddamn face off. Duke's voice fades away, accompanied by receding footsteps down the stairs. The heavy footfalls of Brian start to move around slowly towards the other end of the hall. Kudzu moves his hand up to my shoulder. I look at him, and he holds a finger up to his lip, then points in the direction of the broken window. I don't want to move at all. In fact, I'd rather just sit here and disappear into the floor. Somehow, though, I'm able to force myself to my feet, and Kudzu tugs me up. We move slowly to the doorway, and there Kudzu holds up a hand, making me pause. I watch as his ears perk and flicker in the direction of Brian. My hearing isn't nearly as good as his. I'm able to pick up the bear's heavy, labored breathing. I hear some shuffling, then more heavy footsteps. Kudzu freezes as we both listen to the bear move back into the hallway. Then his footsteps fade away. I imagine he's moved into another room. That's when Kudzu finally appears around the corner. I hold my breath, but Kudzu reaches back and grabs my wrist, pulling me out into the hallway. It's empty and quiet, and it's empty, and as quietly and quickly as we can, we move to the end of the hall to stand next to the broken window. Kudzu sticks one leg out the window Daisy. Kudzu sticks one leg out the window before balancing his entire weight on both of his hands and that are resting at the bottom of the ledge. Like a gymnast, he moves the other leg out and quietly drops to the ground outside. His head narrowly misses the top of the ledge. I don't know if it's because he's a raccoon or an actual gymnast, but there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to do that. Kudzu's already reaching for me, though, his eyes wide with frantic worry. I can hear a shuffling sound behind me again, coming from one of the other rooms. Kudzu reaches out towards me and then suddenly waves his hand wildly in the direction of the room right next to me. Heart pounding, I almost stumbled through the doorway into the room. This one has a few chairs stacked against the side of the wall that looks like a closet door. Brian's footsteps stump down the hall again, and I almost gasp as I get a glimpse of the massive shadow through the doorway. But then it disappears, as I hear his footsteps move into the room right next to me. From just inside the room, I see Kudzu slowly pop back up in front of the window, then motion frantically towards himself. My legs are like jelly, though, and I hesitate. Then there's a raspy dragging sound in the room next to me that almost makes me jump. It's the sound of a cardboard box being slid across the floor. I hear Brian mumbling, definitely not paint. I force my numbed feet to stumble out into the hallway towards the window. Kudzu reaches for me, his eyes desperate, but then I hear shuffling behind me again. Why is he moving so fast now? Automatically I step back into the room while Kudzu continues to beckon to himself. Brian's lumbering footsteps move down the hall, slowly in my direction. Kudzu is ducked down, out of sight. I'm alone. And trapped. I remember the closet. At that last minute and lunge towards it, not having enough time to worry about the sound I make. Somehow the closet door glides open with hardly a sound, as if the hinge had been recently greased. I step inside and swing the door shut, trying not to let it snap close. At that exact moment, Brian's lumbering gait enters the room. I shrink back against the wall, holding my hands to my mouth, trying not to breathe. My heartbeat is so loud, it's the only thing I can hear as it pounds in my ears. I hear coughing and grunting coming from behind the door. Then it goes quiet. I wait, unsure of whether the bear has left or not. Slowly, I walk to the door, pressing the side of my head gently against it. I listen, trying to see if I can hear anything. I swallow, then reach up to rest my hand on the doorknob. I think about making a run for it, maybe trying to dive through the window. I might get hurt, but if I'm gonna really get away. I wait for what feels like 2 or maybe 3 minutes, completely silent on the other side. I wait even longer, to the point where there's no way someone like Brian could keep quiet for that long. So slowly, as slowly as I can, I push the door open, and it immediately comes into contact with something on the other side before it's even a foot open. It's soft, whatever it is, and the door almost bounces back from it. I wait for a moment, and as I'm starting to realize what happened, a massive bear paw reaches around the edge of the door. The next half second, the door is ripped up open, and I find myself facing Brian. A weird numbing feeling spreads down from my crotch into my legs, and I sag in front of the bear. My mind refuses to think or even process what my eyes are seeing. What it does process is pure terror. Brian seems to have trouble understanding what he's seeing as well. He stares at me for a few seconds, his eyes practically crossing as he focuses on me. Then he grins. Hey, you. I can't respond. Instead, I press back into the closet, flattening myself against the wall as he reaches out to me. Still, there isn't much I can do as he grabs the front of my shirt and yanks me out of the closet. He starts to pull me towards the doorway. As I stumble into the hall, I'm finally able to start trying to move again. Seeing the window, I lunge towards it, but Brian's grip is too strong. I hear a few popping sounds as some threads in my shirt give out, and Brian yanks me back violently. Everything goes black as something massive knocks up the side of my face, and the next thing I know, I'm thrown down the hall, flat on my back. I'm staring up at the ceiling, watching it slide sideways above me, like it's painted on a treadmill. My right foot is hiked into the air, and I realize Brian's dragging me along the floor, back towards the end of the hall. The fur on my back glides easily along the hard wood, my shirt scrunching up to my chest. Brian stops as he reaches the white door, pushing it open. Dizzily, I look up at the window, wondering if Kutsu is there and if he can see me. I reach towards it, but that's when I'm being dragged again, and I land painfully on the first step. I gasp and turn sideways so that, as Brian drags me down the rest of the steps, my spine isn't taking the rest of the corners. It's dark and the air turns cool and musty. We finally reach the bottom step, and the pain pulsing at various points of my body from the rough landing. Brian starts dragging me again. I finally realize that he's gonna have me trapped again. He'll do whatever his sick mind thinks up, and there won't be anyone to stop him. No. I moan and try to grab something. Anything to stop me from being pulled deeper into the basement. His hand manages to latch on. My hands manage to latch onto a wooden beam next to the stairs. Brian grunts as my body is snapped into full extension as we're brought to a halt. Come on, let's go. I keep clinging to the beam, imagining that at any moment, Kutsu is going to come running down down the stairs, gun in hand. That comes to an end as Brian kicks me in the chest, and I let go with a wheeze. You know you're the one making this hard on yourself. He starts dragging me again as I curl up and cradle my chest, vaguely hoping that he'd given me a heart attack and I'd be free from all this. I swear to God, if you're lying to me, Leo, I'm gonna paint the ceiling with your fucking brains. Why am I still here if someone came in to save me then? The sound of Leo's voice has me snapping my eyes open again. While it isn't quite as heartening as Kutsu barging in with a weapon, it's definitely relieving to hear his voice again. I'm dragged through the doorway into a brightly lit room with fluorescent lights buzzing ahead. As I come to a stop on the cement floor, the room goes quiet, and I squint against the sunlight. The walls on all the sides are covered in shelves or filled with silver tins and soup cans. A storage room of some kind? Duke is standing there in the middle of the room, next to a metal chair, staring at me. In that chair, is Leo. His arms are down at his sides, and I can see that they're both handcuffed to the sides of the chair. His feet are similarly strapped to the chair's legs. His face is one of shock as he also stares at me, open-mouthed. I stare back, even feeling weirdly self-conscious as everyone watches me. Duke breaks the silence. I knew it! Duke is snarling, but it's not at me. Instead, he's looking at Brian, his lips drawn back as he growls. This is what the fuck happens. Brian scratches his head. What happens? Duke kicks at the air with his foot before stamping down on the hard cement that makes up the floor of the room. This. Leo wasn't supposed to know he got away. Well, I caught him, so what's the difference? Duke lunges at Brian, swinging his arms a few times to beat his fist uselessly against the bear's bulk. Brian flinches back anyway, letting go of my foot. Leo's still staring down at me, mouth slightly less open, and I have an idea what's going on in his mind right now. I suddenly realize how stupid I was to come here with Kutsu. Sure, saving Leo as soon as possible was important, but why had I thought we could do it alone? I should have been in my car right now, halfway to Peyton, 20 minutes away from the cops. Instead, I'm here in Duke's basement, about to be murdered. I slowly sit up just as Duke seems to finish breathing Brian. Gasping, he turns to me. Fuck. Well, if you're here, I guess we'll just have to make use of you. He waves his hand loosely between me and Brian. Pick him up. Wait a second. Just shut up. Brian picks me up roughly, almost encircling my chest with his hands alone as he pins my arms to my sides. He holds me up in front of Leo, and Duke stands to the side between us. It's only now that I notice the puffiness in Leo's left eye, some crusted blood near the brow, with some more coming from his lower lip. It's not terrible, but it's clear he's been hit a few times. As I watch him, I can see the fear in his eyes reflected back at me. That alone almost scares me more than the situation that we're in. Not smirking anymore, are you? Duke bares his teeth in Leo's direction. Been trying to wipe it off your face this whole time, and it turns out this was all I needed to do it. Duke gestures at me. Your little fuck otter, huh? Leo closes his eyes and shakes his head. Why are you here? He mumbles it, almost to himself. Duke leans in closer to the wolf. Why didn't you run if you got away? Leo opens his eyes and he's looking straight at me. I don't know if he expects me to answer, but the look of defeat on his face makes me feel like I have to. We wanted to save you. We didn't know where you were, what was happening. Duke suddenly leans away from Leo and towards me, his eyes narrow. We? Who's we? I feel my stomach drop as I realize what I've just done. I mean, all of us. I saw some of my friends out there before I came here, but I'm alone. Duke studies me closely. Was there anyone else out there, Brian? Brian is sulking behind me, letting go of my shoulder occasionally to rub his chin. Didn't see nobody up there, except this otter. Duke looks up at the ceiling, like he's listening for footsteps or something. Duke snaps his attention back to Leo, and I notice his face is practically dancing with twitches and ticks. This is crazy. Leo enunciates each word through gritted teeth, his muzzle lowered so that he's looking up at Duke's eye to eye. Look at this. Look at everything you've done. It makes no sense. Duke lets out a high-pitched laugh. Crazy? You know what's crazy? Duke gestures at me again. Ask him what he saw out there. Duke turns to face me, swinging his hand from me to Leo. Go on, tell him. He doesn't believe me. The corner of Duke's eyes seemed to have a mind of its own, like there's some kind of living creature under the surface, writhing around. Was it a little crazy? I stare at Duke, entranced until Brian gives me a quick jerk. Uh, I saw, I saw a body. There were gunshots. Duke giggles. And that ain't the half of it. Houses afire, people eating each other. You think I'm crazy for shooting Janice, but if you knew... But how the hell are you supposed to know... But how the hell are we supposed to know why that is? Leo leans forward as far as his bonds will let him, eyes wide, almost pleading with Duke. This started when you got here. Duke lowers his voice dangerously, leaning towards Leo, their noses almost touching. That doesn't mean shit. Leo speaks, halting back at the weasel. Does this? Duke suddenly pulls the gun from his waistband of his pants and points it straight at my face. I'm barely able to comprehend before Brian jumps to the side with me, out of the way of the gun. Fucking Christ, Duke! Don't point it at me! Leo almost stands up to his toes with the chair still attached to his body, furs bristled out all over the body. Duke's lowered the gun, though still watching Leo. Leo slumps back in the chair, trembling. Just stop, Duke. I don't know anything. Duke stares for a moment at the wolf, frowning. Then he looks down at his gun, as if contemplating something. Slowly, he looks at me and points the gun at Leo's head. My heart jumps in my throat, and Brian has to hold on to me as I try to hold out my hands. Wait, what are you doing? Maybe it is just you, Otter. What? It's you I was seeing before you got here, and it was you I saw sneaking around at night. What the hell are you talking about? I feel myself start to panic as I see Duke's finger tighten around the trigger. I don't know what's happening. Leo's doing his best to keep his head out of the line of fire, leaning his head to the as far to the side as he can. Duke doesn't seem to be paying attention to him though, instead keeping his eyes on me. Just explain to me why you think it's me. Maybe I can help. That seems to get some sort of reaction out of Duke as he lowers the gun. Just a bit. The problem now is that it's pointed at Leo's chest, and there's no way he can dodge that. Duke is studying me closely as I try to figure out what to say. You know what? You know this has happened before. My mind races. The mass hysteria thing? Like 100 years ago? Yeah, that's right. See, how do you know that? He looks closely at me, but I'm relieved as he finally takes the gun away from Leo. As he finally takes the gun away from Leo to be pointed at the ground. I did some research before coming here. I'm doing a news story on Echo for school. Duke is still eyeing me suspiciously. So, you know about the murder? I try to think back to my research about what exactly happened. It was a while ago now, and I planned to fill in the gaps when I got back to Pueblo. Kind of. It happened in the mine. Yeah, it did. And then people went nuts. I wait, but Duke doesn't go on, filling the air with awkward silence. I can see Leo's head looking back and forth, probably trying to come up with a way to get out of this. I hope he's figuring something out, because I have no idea how we're going to do that. But, do you know why? I'm trying to sift through Duke's psyche to figure out why he thinks this might be related to Leo and I. Duke's breathing has leveled off, and with his calmness, there's a feeling that we've managed to ride out the storm. My grandpappy lived through it all and stayed in the town after. Oh! I notice Leo's not looking around anymore. Instead, his eyes are trained on the door behind me, and slightly to my right. I want to look back, but Duke seems distracted right now, so I try to keep him engaged. Yeah, it happened weeks after the body was found. sort of built up till all hell broke loose. Leo nods his head slightly, eyes still on the door, and my heart leaps out of my chest as I realize what might be happening. Do you know why that was? Duke shakes his head. There's something bad in this town. The earth's bad, the air's bad, everything's tainted. So, you think something's in the air or water or something? I lean in a bit to the left to try to keep Duke's eyes on me, away from Leo or the door. I don't know about that, but my grandpappy thought because they didn't catch the murderer, it planted some seeds in the bad dirt. Duke looks at the ceiling and grew something terrible. It wasn't until they killed the guy that did it that it stopped. That's news to me. I didn't read anywhere that the murderer had been caught. Duke looks back at me. So I don't know what it is, if it's murder or guilt or catching someone that did wrong. I hear the softness and the sound of footpads against the floor behind me, and I pray that none of the others did. But it started when you got here, so you gotta forgive me for wondering if one of you did something bad. Duke starts to raise the gun again, and brought that guilt back to this poison land to grow the seeds again. Duke doesn't sound like himself at all, not even his recently crazed self. Still though, I don't want to admit it. I start to have an idea of what Duke might be getting at, how all of this fits into our history. What was that kid's name that died a while back at the lake? He wasn't murdered. You sure about that? Yes! But I'm not. Am I? I swallow hard, aware that some pieces don't fit, despite how disturbing the implications are. But that was years ago. Why didn't it start then? Why now? Duke shrugs. Maybe he wasn't guilty till now. Maybe the kids don't understand what they've done. Maybe it's 'cause you left and it made it angry. But he wasn't murdered. You see it happen? No, but the person that did would never do that. So am I talking to the wrong guy right now? Who was it? I look over at Leo again, swallowing hard. Who was it? Duke starts to raise the gun again, and what happens over the course of the next minute is too fast for me to comprehend until it's over. Leo explodes out of his sitting position, face twisted with rage as he bares teeth in a full-on wolf snarl. Though his feet are handcuffs to the leg of his chair, he's still able to lunge off the ground with his feet. He launches himself at Duke, slamming the weasel with a painful crunch of flesh on flesh and metal on concrete. I gasp and watch as Leo starts ripping into Duke with his teeth. Duke screams and flails his arms around, apparently forgetting his weapon as it flies from his fingers. The gun slides across the ground to tap gently against the wall, just 5 feet from me. Brian keeps a tight grip on me though, but that's when I hear a clicking sound from behind. Brian does too, and he turns sideways, allowing me to see the source as well. And there stands Kudzu, both hands on Leo's handgun as he points it up at Brian's head. It clicks uselessly though, and Kudzu's face is a mixed mask of terror, desperation, and confusion. The safety! Leo is still struggling on the ground with a screaming Duke, lifting his mouth from the weasel's arms to shout at Kudzu. Kudzu's eyes snap to the gun in his hand, but Brian's already moving. He kicks at Kudzu's hand, and it connects violently, sending the gun flying into the air to clap against the ceiling. Brian lets go of me at this point, reaching out to catch the gun. Because no one's fighting over Duke's gun, I realize that might be my best chance. I lunge in the opposite direction. Clumsily, I scoop up the weasel's gun, turning it over in my hands. Am I holding it the right way? Brian! Brian! My gun! Leo's still tearing away at the weasel as Duke holds him up in defense. I turn, crouched back against the wall as I see Brian standing over a downed Kudzu. I can only pray that he hasn't killed him. I point the gun at Brian just as he turns around to face me. Seeing that he's about to get shot, the bear lunges at me, massive paws stretching out towards me. Luckily for me, the gun is loaded. Trying to keep myself steady, I manage to find the safety and flick it off. I shoot him right in the face. The sound is so loud in the tiny room that my hearing goes out for a moment. Brian crumples on the floor of the room and goes quiet. But only for a moment. An earthly howling comes from the bear as he slowly props himself up to his hands, looking back up at me. For a moment, I wonder if the evil powers of Echo have brought him back to life somehow. But no, there isn't a bloody hole. No, there's a bloody hole just above his blunt nose, and I can see the white bone peeking through the red. Somehow, the bullet hadn't even pierced his skull. Shakily, I raise the gun again, but Brian rolls away to the door, and with a speed that shouldn't be possible for the bear his size, he's gone. I stare for a moment, wondering if I should run after him. But a snarl next to me as pointing the gun at but a snarl next to me as okay. But I hear a snarl next to me as I point the gun at Duke instead. Leo is still tearing into his arms as Duke hollers at the top of his lungs, trying to cover his face. Leo, stop! I've got the gun on him! Leo looks up at me with his wild eyes, pausing for a moment, before slowly letting go of the musclid's arms, bloody drool hanging from his chin. I try to ignore that and keep the gun trained on Duke's head, as Leo flops to the side in his chair. After seeing how little that bullet had affected Brian, I'm not so confident how much damage it'll do to Duke. Maybe bears have thicker skulls, but I'm more worried that the gun is just shit. Duke doesn't move, though. He lays his back against the concrete, eyes closed, gasping for breath. His arms are out at his sides, both of them leaking blood on the ground. Leo really did a number on them. He definitely needs to go to the hospital. A hand touches my shoulder, and I jump. I look back and see that it's Kutsu. Sorry. You okay? Leo's gun hangs loosely from one of his hands. Kutsu, you fucking saved our lives. I grin at him, and I almost sobbed with relief. I want to hug him, but I have to keep the gun on Duke. Of course. I'm sorry I didn't stop him when he took you. I wasn't sure what to do. He touches my shoulder again, and I can feel him trembling. Don't worry about it. We're okay now. Can someone get me out of these handcuffs, please? My arms are fucking killing me. Killing you? You ripped mine apart. Duke is practically sobbing now, curled up in the side, to hold his arms to his chest. Fuck you, asshole. Leo spits at him as he tries to adjust the position on the floor. Oh, where are the keys, Duke? Duke takes in a shuddering breath, then holds it for a few seconds before answering. Right pocket. Kudzu walks over and kneels next to the weasel, sifting through his pockets. Keep an eye on the door, Chase, in case Blubbergut comes back. I try to angle myself so I can keep an eye on both the door and Duke, even though I'm pretty sure the latter is through at this point. Kudzu pulls a small metal key out before moving over to Leo, fumbling around for a good while. The handcuffs finally drop to the ground. Leo kneels there for a moment, wringing out his wrists. You okay? He smiles at me. I'm a little sore, but I think I'll be alright. He gets unsteadily to his feet, taking a pair of handcuffs with him before bending over to quickly give me a kiss on the head. I'm so happy you're okay, Chase. And thank you, Kutsu. He slaps the raccoon on the back before turning his attention to the weasel. Duke notices and quickly curls up tighter. I was just trying to help everyone. Ah! Leo grabs him by the bloody arms before yanking him violently to his feet. The weasel screamed double as the wolf twists those arms behind his back, handcuffing them. Why the hell do you have so many handcuffs anyway? Duke starts sobbing again until Leo whips him around and slaps him across the face. Duke sways, stunned by the power of the blow, before Leo brings his hand back and hits him on the other cheek. Shut the fuck up. Leo ignores Kutsu as he pulls the chair back up and throws Duke into it so violently it almost tips over. Please, I'm sorry. I just want to help. Duke cowers as Leo raises his hand again. I realize how tightly I'm holding the gun and that I realize how tightly I'm holding on to the gun, though I'm pointing it at the ground. I'm sure to take my finger off the trigger. While Leo's violence is a little disturbing, it's almost comforting to have him throw his weight around after how the weasel had treated us. Kutsu, on the other hand, doesn't look comforted at all. He's still trembling from the earlier fight. He's pulling at the fur on his chin as he watches Leo. Careful, Leo. Let's just take him to the cops or something. Kutsu looks over his shoulder at the door. Going to Peyton was probably a better idea, now that I realized how messed up everyone is. Yeah. I mean, if that monster they're talking about isn't real, would it have been better to risk that than get involved with these idiots? I hadn't even thought about the supposed thing keeping everyone from leaving town. It seems silly now that we'd let a stupid story like that keep us here. Leo doesn't seem to be listening. You're a fucking lunatic, Duke. Why shouldn't I just kill you right now? Leo! Leo looks over his shoulder at us, finally shaking his head at Kutsu conspiratorially. Kutsu goes silent as Leo goes back to staring at the weasel. Now explain to us what the hell is going on. Leo leans in closer with his bloody muzzle, and Duke cringes back. Tell the truth, and maybe I'll let you go. Leo glances at me. I won't kill you, at least. He's trying to make it clear to me that he's just trying to scare Duke. At least that's what I hope he's doing. I already explained. Duke's eyes dart back and forth between us. The way that he's kicking his feet around with a high-pitched, whiny voice makes me think of a child. A really ugly, malnourished child. I still feel a little bad for him, though. Remind me, because I was a little fucking distracted. Kutsu sidles up next to me and sets his hand on my shoulder. You want to watch the door? I touch hand in acknowledgement and turn around to face the door. I don't really think Brian's going to be coming back, though. I told yous, something bad's happening and we need to figure out what. Yeah, but how did kidnapping us help anything? Duke sighs deeply, and I glance over my shoulder to see him slumping in defeat. Last time this happened, it might have been caused by a murderer. By a murder, not the Wait, what? Last time this happened, it might have been caused by a murder, not the murderer. Wait, not the murder. But that the guy got away with murder. That is a hard sentence to read. There's a moment of silence. Okay. Leo's tone demanding that Duke go on. So, the guilt from the guy, or the worry in town, or just the spirits, heck, I don't know, maybe all of it, but it came together and make everyone go crazy, or everything go crazy. Okay, sure, but what does that have to do anything with us? I saw the otter sneaking around town before they got there. I look back and see Duke looking at me. So is Leo. Seemed kind of fishy to me, so I thought he might have something to do with it all. Was my only lead. Leo doesn't respond this time. I look back again and see he's still looking at me. What is it? You told me yourself, Leo, that you saw him sneaking around too. It was someone else. How the hell do you know that? What are you guys talking about? Kudzu, can you watch the door? I finally turn around. Leo leans one hand on the back of Duke's chair as he sighs. If you remember, Chase, I told you about how I thought I saw someone out my window that looked like you. Leo turns his glare back into Duke. Got drunk with this asshole and accidentally told him about it too. But we both saw it. Isn't that a little strange? Some otters come by town. That looked like Chase. What the hell else was it? Leo glances back at me, and I feel there's some doubt in his eyes. I mean, you weren't here, right? Of course I wasn't. I know. Just making sure. Leo turns back to Duke. Why would that mean anything anyway? Duke looks around, visibly clenching his toes. I've heard stuff about doubles, like doppelgangers or something. Doppelgangers? Sure, but people talked about that shit happening back then, seeing themselves and stuff. Okay, so if we believe that shit, why would it mean he has anything to... Why would it mean he has anything to do with anything? Well, my grandpappy said that the guy that did it was in 2 or 3 places at once sometimes. There's a moment of silence, and we all absorb that bit of information. Sounds like a load of shit to me, Duke. Duke jumps up in his seat. I'm just telling you what I know. So, what's your solution to all of this then? I don't know. It stopped when they got the guy. Duke cowers in his chair, then glances at me. Leo follows his gaze, and his eyes turn steely. Duke seems to notice Leo's change in demeanor, but before he can do anything, he gets a massive slap from the wolf. Leo, stop it! Duke immediately starts sobbing again as he curls in on himself. Me? This fucker wants to get at Chase. It did seem that way. Did Duke think the only way to stop this problem... Did Duke think that the only way to stop all the problems in this town was to... kill me? Duke. Kudzu tries a different approach, his voice much gentler than Leo's. The problem with your theory is that Chase hasn't killed anyone. Right, Chase? Of course not. Of course not. So maybe we need to rethink things a little, huh? Or maybe he can do that in a fucking jail cell. We're gonna get in my van, then we're gonna get the hell out of here. If we can. I'm still not sure about that thing the mayor was talking about. What thing? A monster or something. The mayor told us it's killing people that are trying to leave. Leo stares. Has the town really gone that fucking insane? Kudzu shrugs. There were bodies. Jesus. Leo looks around. Wow, it sounds like bullshit. But if there's anything, we'll be fine if we leave in a car. The motel is closer. We can use my car instead. Sure. Duke is still staring at me with a hard look. I get the feeling that despite all the things we just told him, he's not buying it. Leo hauls the weasel off the chair, gaining a little squeak of pain from Duke as he's forced to break eye contact with me. What about the others? We're gonna try to find everyone we can before we leave, but the priority is to get ourselves to a police station. Leo pulls me to stand in front of him before gesturing at Kudzu. Kud, take the gun. Safety's off now. Kudzu visibly frowns as I hand it to him. Yeah, sorry about that. I want Chase between us. I don't trust these fuckers not to try anything, especially if Brian comes back. So, with Kudzu leading the way, we make our way out of Brian's house into the night. It's quieter this time around as we head out onto the deserted night street. Seems like things may have settled a little, at least. Katsu's fur is still bristling on the back of his neck. I'm starting to worry about him. He's been tense, even considering the situation we're in. Keep your eyes peeled anyway. Of course. I've already been sensing a strange sort of tension between the two of them. It can probably be put up to the situation that's currently at hand, though. We're all on edge. I can see the motel a ways down the road, but ominously, the lights are all out. Duke's gone quiet for the most part. I wonder if he's just given up, or if he's finding something. Hopefully it's the former. Not really seeing anything out of the ordinary here. Trust me, things are fucked up. We pass the diner, the moonlight glinting softly off its metal edges. A dark, sick feeling sets in as I stare at the black windows. That's where it all started. So, should we check to see if she's still there? Leo's quiet behind me for a moment, then clears his throat. Don't see why we need to do that. I don't know. To tell the cops about it or something? If the cops haven't been there, then I'm sure she's still in there. No use looking inside. Alright. Hey, it's gonna be okay, alright? Not for Janice. Leo doesn't say anything as we continue down the road, finally reaching the motel parking lot. Keep moving. I look behind me to see that Duke stopped and still looking back at the diner. I see something. What? Kutsu stops too and looks back at us. Something. I look back at the diner, but I see nothing moving in the windows or in front of it. It's way too dark to see anything in there anyway. Leo prods at Duke's back, but the weasel refuses to move, rooted to the spot. Am I gonna have to carry you? Leo lets go of Duke for just a moment, reaching to turn him around, probably to throw the weasel over his shoulder. But before he can do that, Duke screams, long and loud, and it raises the hair on the back, all the hairs on the back of my neck. Before Leo can stop him, the weasel takes off into the night, away from the diner, towards a grouping of trees and bushes on the side of the road. Leo curses and immediately goes after him. Kutsu starts to follow. Don't follow me. Wait by the car. Leo shouts over his shoulder before disappearing into the brush. Then more faintly, and watch Chase. Kutsu and I stare into the darkness, listening to the two of them crash through the brush before fading out into silence. After a few moments, Kutsu rubs his head and turns to me. Well, guess we should get to the car then. I frown, not really worried that Duke can do much to Leo, but rather that they'll run into someone that could. Shouldn't be that hard to catch him. He's in handcuffs. Duke can be fast when he wants to be. Fuck. I feel like we should have gone with him. I keep staring into the darkness of the brush, and Kutsu puts a hand on my shoulder as he passes. Don't worry. Leo can take care of himself, especially when he's up against someone like Duke. A handcuffed Duke. Yeah. Reluctantly, I follow the raccoon. Leo's brief presence had been so strong and reassuring. It's kinda jarring to be without it again. At the same time, though, it's not all that different with Kutsu. Leo's just more overpowering with it, I guess. I fish my keys out of my pocket, then suddenly realize where we're at. Hey, we should check our room. Jenna or TJ might be in there. Maybe even some of the others. Kutsu looks at the dark motel, scanning the rows of doors. Yeah, we should. But I think we should wait for Leo. I don't really trust anyone right now. I realize what he's implying, that one of my friends could have gone insane too, and I also realize I can't blame him. From what I saw and heard, TJ might have been acting the same way as Duke. That thought causes my stomach to turn sickly. Listen, I gotta, pee real quick. Okay? Okay. I'm just gonna go over there behind that corner. He points over at the side of the motel. No problem. I'm getting annoyed. I'm getting just a little annoyed that everyone is acting like I'm a kid that needs to be watched. Cool. Be right back. Kudzu does a little jog away before disappearing around the corner. I lean back against the door of my car, swinging the keys around a finger. It's completely quiet now. I haven't heard a single gunshot since we got outside. I wonder if everyone that's been fighting is dead now. Or maybe they just realized how ridiculous the mayor's story was and left. Thinking about the supposed monster that I definitely don't believe in, though, has me looking over my shoulder into the darkness. Images of a hanging body crosses my mind. Shit. I look over to where Kudzu went. It's been a while. It's been a little while. Shouldn't he be done by now? A pop from the brush across the street makes me jump. Leo? My voice comes out in a whisper. There's definitely something there. Its form stands out, just a shade darker than the trees behind it. It might be a bush, but it looks thin, like a person. I squint at it, and that's when I see a glint of two eyes in the darkness. I freeze. Whoever it is, they're not responding to me. That's definitely not a good sign. I decide that I'm just not gonna move until Kudzu gets here. Yeah, and if it does move, I'll just run over to where Kudzu went. I don't think he'll mind me catching him with his pants down if there's a fucking psychopath chasing after us. I see a thick tail swish out of the side of the dark thing. Slowly, I feel behind myself for the key holds for my car, sliding the key in and unlocking it. Actually, I'll just get in the car and... Footsteps to my right. Duke. His eyes wild is on me in an instant. He slams into me so hard I'm sent into the asphalt with an impact that rattles my brains. I roll over and groggily see Duke bent over, his hands fumbling at the ground. Somehow he's moved his handcuffs hand from behind himself to the front. I realize that I don't have my keys anymore. At the same time, Duke stands up, key in hand. Kudzu! I yell and reach for Duke, who dodges away, throwing some kicks at me before yanking open my car door. Fuck! I lunge for the handle, but I see the weasel slam down and lock it just as I reach it. Kudzu comes running from around the corner just as Duke starts up the car. Duke! I shout uselessly at Kudzu as Duke peels out, yanking the handle from my grasp and forcing me to hop back to stop from being run over. Of course, I think that Duke's just going to take off down the road and get the hell out of Echo. I have no idea that he's going to turn sharply into the parking lot and come straight for me. Chase! Kudzu screams at me, just 20 feet away now. But there's no time. The car is coming at me. I jump to the left, but Duke easily follows my movements. I see the license plates and the headlight, which Duke hasn't turned on. I jump and land on the hood of the car as it hits me. I feel like my body is falling through the air. I see the stars and the moon. Then I land. The desert stretches and winds into the distance, rising and falling with the mountains, hills, and valleys. It's endless, monolithic, passionless, except here. Its mark is clear on the land, like a stain, a blemish in the beige patchworks of the wilderness. The earth's bad. The air's bad. Everything's tainted. Tainted. The mark is old. It's ancient. Been here longer than people. All people. And they know it too. Everyone who's been here knows it. So do you. Even though you're not from here. You were drawn to this stain, like all the other evil that's planted itself here. You can see right through the otter's eyes. You see its influence stretch above you like black tendrils into the dark red sky. They stretch, search, reaching out for anything alive, to stain anything they touch. So it is. So it always will be. Chase! I stare groggily up at the face above me, a swirling mess of gray and black before I'm able to focus on the nose just inches away from my own. That crosses my eyes, which hurts, so I close them again. Chase. The voice gentler this time, though no less concerned. I try to reach my hand up to assure whoever it is that I'm fine. I feel a soft velvety sensation of an ear catch between my fingers, and the person above me stills. What happened? Are you guys okay? I mumble thickly past lips that don't seem to cooperate with words that don't seem to make sense. Are you? He hit you really hard. I feel a hand run over the top of my head, like it's looking for something. Did you hit your head? I feel my own head, keeping my other hand resting on Kutsu's head. That's right, Kutsu. I pushed myself up suddenly, realizing where I am and what just happened. I look around into the night. It's a rare feeling of regaining conscious in this nightmare, making it all more horrific. Shit, where is he? I try to push myself up, but Kutsu holds me down firmly. Duke? He took off somewhere. Kutsu looks around, his ears pointed up as if listening before looking back down at me as I try to sit up again. You need to stay down for now. Something might be injured. I think I'm okay. Just a little bit out of it. Kutsu gazes down at me, and for a moment I'm left staring into his deep, dark eyes. That's when I hear the sound of feet slapping against asphalt breaks. That's when the sound of feet slapping against asphalt breaks the spell, and Kutsu looks behind himself. What the hell? Duke just... Kutsu is suddenly shoved roughly away, and I find myself held up in Leo's arms. What the fuck happened? Leo desperately looks me up and down as he holds me in his arms. Did he shoot you? What? No, he just hit me with a car. I see Leo's eyes widen and his ears shoot up. He suddenly turns all his attention on Kutsu, hackles raised. What the fuck were you doing, Kud? Why weren't you watching him? Kutsu flinched back, then glares. He came out of nowhere, Leo. We were both trying to stop him. I can see Leo working himself up to shout something else, but that's when I push myself out of his strong grip. Despite the circumstances, I'm bristling all the way. I'm bristling at the way I'm being coddled. Leo, he was driving a fucking car. There wasn't anything he could do. Now standing, I feel an aching sensation in my back, and my head spins a little. I brace my hands and knees and wait for it to subside. I don't think you should be standing up so soon. I'm fine. Though, now that I'm standing, I'm not completely sure of that. Worrying twinges and creak pangs throughout my body, but I force myself to straighten up, facing the other two. We need to keep moving. Find the others and get out of here. Leo moves up next to me, a big paw reaching out to wrap around my shoulder. I cringe, though, and Leo takes his hand back. You need me to carry you, honey? I grimace and shake my head, mostly because I feel like being slung over his back would have been worse. He settles on rubbing my back gently, eyes still looking over it, as if trying to spot some unseen injury. Let's get the hell to Peyton. Kutsu coughs awkwardly. We've lost the car, though. Oh, yeah. My heart sinks. Even now, in the situation we're in, I'm a little angry that it was my car that was stolen. I worked hard to buy that thing, even if it was a junker. Leo shakes his head in a mild annoyance. Then we'll just have to use my van instead. Leo looks up the road in the direction of the diner, where he left it 2 days ago. Wait, let's at least check the motel. See if any of the others are in our room. Otter. I'm sure the others have already gotten out by now. I mean, we haven't heard anything from any of them, though. And why wouldn't they have brought the police or something? Leo looks back at the motel, chewing his lip. Alright, but let's be fucking quick about it. We need to get the hell out of here so we can get everyone help. Yeah, real quick. I reach out to my back pocket, pulling out the key card. As I hobble in the direction of our room on the other side of the building, Kutsu reaches out to me. You need help? Leo shoulders the raccoon aside, as he practically jumps to my side, gently pressing a hand into my back again. Stay close, Otter. I'm not gonna let something like that happen to you again. I try to ignore the tension I feel building between the other two. More than anything, I'm annoyed at Leo. Why is he acting like this? Sure, he was always a little bit jealous, but right now, in the middle of this hellscape of chaos? I shake my head, allowing the wolf to guide me with his hand as we turn the corner of the motel. Kutsu stays close behind, and I look back and give him a small smile to show that I at least appreciate his concern for me. He gives me a short nod back, but otherwise doesn't say anything. Like most of the town, the back of the motel is completely deserted as far as I can see. Another pop that's probably a gunshot echoes in the distance. I'm thankful that they aren't happening every minute like earlier. Again, I wonder if it's because everyone's dead. As fucked up as it is, I think that might be a good thing for us. As long as it doesn't involve any of my friends. We reach the door of the motel and my heart sinks as I see that there's no light coming from the window. Shakily, I raise a key card and press it against the lock, only to accidentally drop it. I start to bend over to pick it up, but Leo puts a hand on my shoulder, speaking gently into my ear. Don't move, Otter. He sweeps up the card and presses it to the lock. Flashes green and I hear the electric buzz of the lock coming unlatched before Leo presses down on the door handle, then pauses. His other hand suddenly reaches out behind me towards Kutsu. Kutsu, hand me my gun. I'll give you dukes. Kutsu stares at his hand for a moment, then jumps as if suddenly realizing what the wolf is talking about. Oh, right. Kutsu lifts his shirt, fumbling with the waistband before pulling out the gun. He hands it to Leo, who in turn hands him Duke's gun. He checks if the safety's on before pointing it towards the door. Leo pauses again, then glances at me. Otter, behind me. Leo nods back to the wall. Leo nods back to the wall next to the door. I only feel a little twinge of resentment of being treated like a child again, but I'm too eager to check the room to say anything. Finally, Leo gives the door a gentle shove, allowing it to swing open on its own. I can't see anything from behind, Leo, but judging by the look on Kutsu's face next to me, they don't see anything. I realize why as Leo slowly reaches inside and flips the light switch. I can't resist a peek around Leo's bulk into the motel room. I don't know what I was expecting. Maybe a blood-spattered room with all of our friends' bodies piled in the middle or something. Instead, though, it's basically just how I remember it. I even see my pajamas crumpled up on the side of the bed where I left them. Leo holds steady for a moment, keeping his gun pointed at the ceiling of the room. Finally, he leans in, whispering loudly, Hello? There's no response. Leo waits just a while longer before finally moving forward slowly. I don't wait for Leo's approval to follow and move closely behind him. Kutsu just behind me. There isn't much to search in the motel room, having just a room and a bathroom to check. Once Leo is sure it's clear, I shut the door and lock it before turning to the other two. Just so that we know we're safe. For now, at least. Leo shakes his head. We gotta keep moving, Chase. We should head to my place now. I open Jenna's laptop on the table, pushing the power button. Come on. What are you doing? Leo shifts his weight from one foot to the other. Kutsu moves to stand next to me. Checking the internet? I was hoping to. I sigh as I stare at the password screen. Well, let me check with my phone. Leo sighs again. That's not gonna help us. I have Wi-Fi calling. Leo sighs again and sits heavily on the bed bending it in like a bow. He sets the gun on the bedside table before rubbing his face vigorously with both hands. You okay? Saying that Leo's been on edge is an understatement. And sure, we're all fucked up right now, but the way the wolf's been acting, it's like he's a different person. Leo lets his hand slide down his face so he can peer at me over his fingertips. He examines me for a while, then finally reaches out with both hands. Come here, Chula. I almost hesitate. I'm not sure why. I walk over to him and stand in front of the wolf before he reaches out to pull me down into his lap. Then he presses my head against his chest before wrapping his arms around me. He starts stroking the back of my neck gently, and it makes me shiver. It all feels a little forced, and we don't meld together naturally like we always used to. I'm sorry about letting all of this happen. I should have told the police when Dukes started threatening earlier. Do you know what's happening? Leo takes in another breath, and his broad chest swells up against my cheek before he blows it out, ruffling the fur on my head. I don't know. I really don't. I notice Kutsu standing to the side, clearly trying not to look at us. Any internet? Kutsu looks up and shakes his head. No. I can't find a network. Damn it. Did that bear do anything to you? The hesitation in Leo's voice makes it clear what he was really asking. It sounds like he's been wanting to ask it for a while. No. He, just tied me up for a while. I guess he technically did more, in a way. But I don't want to go into that right now. That whole incident actually seems like a long time ago. Janice's murder, getting near raped by Brian, trying to kill Brian. I feel like there's a numbness in my chest that's dampening my emotions right now. Everything feels like it's far away from me. I wonder if that's some kind of psychological response to what's happening, and if I'll be fucked up after this is all over. Probably. But I kind of welcome the numbness right now. It at least helps me deal with what's happening a little easier. Jenna would probably be able to tell me what's happening right now if she were here. Of course, that makes me wonder where she is and the others are. It makes me want to get out and find them. Because as much as I want to get the hell out of this place, I feel kind of responsible for them. I did drag them all here after all. I'm gonna get you out of here. I promise. Leo breathes into my ear and squeezes me a little tighter. I have to hold back a wince as a twinge goes through my back. I have a feeling that I'm going to be very sore tomorrow. I suddenly lift my head to look back at Kutsu. What time is it? Kutsu takes his phone out his pocket to check. 3:45. I stare at him. Are you serious? That means it's only been a little more than an hour since we left Kutsu's place? I was hoping that daylight would be a bit closer than that. Kutsu slumps down in the chair at the table. That's what my phone says. I continue to rest my head against Leo's chest, listening to him breathe. I glance up at him and see his eyes are closed as he continues to stroke the back of my head. I'm about to tell him that we should get moving again when I think I hear something. It's a soft snuffling sound, like someone's covering up their sniffling. I lay there against Leo, not moving as I continue to listen. Full 10 seconds go by before it happens again, and this time I think it's coming from below us, under the bed. I look up at Leo again, wondering how to tell him I heard something without saying it out loud. Honestly, with his massive wolf ears, he should have heard it before I did. I reach out to poke at his chin. Leo shakes his head a bit around the poking, but otherwise doesn't open his eyes. I frown and reach further up, touching his cheek. He leans into it. Leo. I barely whisper at him. Finally, he does open his eyes, and I point with my own ears, mouthing, listen. I see his ears comically perk up, his eyes looking at the ceiling. I motion down at the bed. I can see Kutsu to the side of the chair, eyeing us curiously, but not saying anything otherwise, thankfully. This time, the snuffling sound is quite louder, and I feel Leo's fur rise up on his arm. That was definitely a person, or something living and breathing at least, and it definitely came from under the bed. Leo slowly and gently pushes me off his lap, motioning me away. Slowly, he leans over to grab the gun. Then he stands back, backing away from the bed, and crouching slowly with the gun pointed as he looks under the bed. I see Leo pause, staring, and then he reaches out and grabs whatever it is and yanks hard. Ah! The scream is loud and piercing. Whatever it was sounded like a terrified child. It thrashed and kicked at Leo, and it's when it's clawing frantically at the carpet to get back under the bed I realize who it is. TJ! I shout the name confused and terrified myself. What the hell? Calm down. Leo's got both hands on TJ's ankles, trying to keep him still while at the same time trying not to get gouged by toe claws. I move closer, though not close enough to get clawed by the lynx, and I try to catch him in his line of sight. TJ! TJ! It's us! You're okay! The look in his eyes is wild and desperate and feral. I reach out for his wrist, and he immediately slashes at me with his other hand. Chase! Stay back! I fall back on my butt and scoot away a little, wide-eyed. I've never seen TJ like this. Of course I haven't. I can't imagine what could have made him like this. I scramble up and stand next to Kutsu, who's just as wide-eyed as me. Despite that, he sidesteps a little in front of me, as if to shield me from the insane TJ. Leo finally drops the cat's legs before TJ can scramble back under the bed. Leo jumps on his back. I wince as I can hear TJ deflate like a tire from Leo's weight. The wolf snatched up TJ's arms, pinning them up against his back as he leans over the lynx, shouting into his ear. TJ, stop. Stop fighting. It's me, Leo. Leo. TJ continues to writhe, making a weird yelling noise that I've never heard him make before. TJ, it's me. Your friend. It's your friends. We're here to help you, man. Leo's voice is quieter now, and more soothing as he tries to calm down the crazed lynx. It seems to be working so far as TJ's violent thrashing lessens, his yowling fading into more feeble whining sounds. See? I'm here now. You're gonna be fine. Finally, TJ's head falls to the carpet. Everything goes limp. TJ sits on the bed, cross-legged, as he rests his back against the headboard. I gave him a blanket when I saw him shivering, and he's got it draped over his shoulders, holding it tightly around himself. It hasn't stopped the shivering, though. It seems to be the only thing he doesn't flinch at when we... I seem to be the only one he doesn't flinch at when we get close, so I sit next to him on the bed. Awkwardly, I put my arm around him, but he seems to take comfort in that and leans against me. The smell of sweat and piss is strong, but I don't say anything. Leo, meanwhile, sits at the end of the other bed, gently trying to get TJ to tell us what happened. Was someone chasing you? Is someone there? Or someone here? TJ shivers against me, and I pat his shoulders. He looks at me, and then I see his fur is completely matted over to his face, like he's been crying non-stop. I notice bits of dead leaves on his head, too, along with some dirt. What in the hell had he been doing? Leo continues to prod gently at the lynx with his questions. If you can tell us, we might be able to stop it, or at least watch out for it before we leave. TJ looks at Leo, then opens his mouth, making a squeaking noise. He swallows loudly, and tries again. Do we have any water? It sounded like he has an extremely sore throat. I look over at the sink, but Kutsu jumps off the chair he's sitting and makes his way to it. He grabs one of the smaller plastic cups before running the faucet. TJ watches him until the raccoon brings the cup back over. TJ drops the blanket around his shoulders and reaches out eagerly for the cup. We all watch him intently as he loudly swallows giant gulps of water before lowering it from his lips and gasping for air. Leo smiles encouragingly. Careful, don't drown yourself. TJ stares, then shivers again, much more violently. I grip him more tightly. Are you cold? I grab up the blanket and try to tuck it around his shoulders better. Kinda. Kinda. Not really. I feel cold, but... TJ rubs his chest. He's still trembling, and I realize he might be in shock. I don't know what to do for that. In every TV show, I've seen the person just given a shiny blanket while they sit on the side of the road. So I just continue to rub his shoulders in a circular motion, trying to be soothing. I wish Jenna were here. She'd know what to do. He leans against me, though, so I feel like I'm doing the right thing. He holds out the cup to Kutsu again. Could I get some more, please? Sure. Kutsu takes the cup delicately from TJ, like the links might break. When Kutsu moves off to the sink again, TJ leans towards me, whispering, "That guy played soccer with us, right?" Yeah. Yeah, he did. Right. TJ goes back to leaning against me and staring at the wall. Oh, this isn't good. He does seem to be getting better. He can recognize us again, and remember stuff at least. Leo adjusts himself on the bed, clearing his throat again. Teach, if you can't remember, that's okay. But I just want to make sure that no one's, coming after you. Oh, no, why do I keep clicking on that? TJ blinks, then shakes his head. No, I don't think so. Leo waits, but TJ doesn't say anything more. No one? You were hiding, so... Leo clearly doesn't want to upset the Lynx, but it does make sense why he wants to know. If there's someone lurking out there, hunting TJ down, we could be in a lot of danger right now. We wait, though, as Kutsu comes back with the cup. Tej takes a few more gulps, and before looking up at Leo. I thought I saw something. I keep seeing things. I think I need to go home. I stare hard at TJ, studying him. I don't know why, but I guess I thought we'd all be exempt from this hysteria. I knew we were all normal, at least to an extent. This whole crazy chaos seemed too foreign, too different for it to affect my friends. People I know that are grounded. Normal people. That's exactly what TJ was. And now... Leo stands up and steps closer, sitting down next to TJ on the opposite side of the bed. We're gonna go home, Teach. We just have to walk to my car first. Leo reaches out and sets his hand on TJ's leg. I'm glad to see that he doesn't flinch at all. He's really calming down. Okay. TJ suddenly opens up the blanket around himself, staring down at all his clothes. I can see his nose twitching, and the skin inside of his ears flushes. Can I take a shower? Leo pauses, clearly not having expected that. Well, we really need to get going. Don't you want to get home and take a shower there? TJ has put a blanket over himself, trying to hide his pants. I just like to feel clean again. I feel like it might be a good thing for him to clean off, maybe have some alone time. I give Leo a meaningful look, and I lower my voice gently for TJ. Sure, man. We'll wait. TJ slowly pushes himself off the bed and stands on unsteady legs. Both of his hands not so subtly shield his crotch as he walks to the dresser. Okay. Just don't leave, okay? We won't. Leo's still using his talking to a toddler voice. The wolf gives me a frustrated look, but I ignore it. And I'm gonna leave the door open, so if something happens, just yell. It's fine, and nothing's gonna happen, okay? Yeah, okay. TJ pulls out some pants from the dresser before making his way to the bathroom. He keeps glaring back at us like we're gonna just disappear if he looks away too long. I try to give him a cheerful smile until he finally disappears into the bathroom. We sit around in a sort of circle in the motel. Leo and I are on the beds, and Kutsu in the chair. We keep our voices low as we discuss what's going on, not wanting TJ to hear. This doesn't make sense. TJ's one of the most rational people I know. How is this affecting him? We don't know what's causing it, though. I don't know. I thought it was drugs or something. They all just took the same drug? I don't know. Or maybe they're all crazy because of the drugs. And something set it off. Well, TJ is religious. So? So, if he believes in that, then maybe it could go further than that. I shake my head. No, that doesn't make sense. People in cults do it all the time. But he's not in a cult. It's all kind of the same thing if you think about it. Your whole family is super religious, Leo. Yeah, so I have first-hand experience with all of that. Leo chuckles despite the situation. It's just... It makes me wonder if this is something more than what's in everyone's head, if even TJ's having it happen. Kutsu taps on his chin from the chair he's sitting in. What was it Duke saying about his grandpa's... Something about a curse? Leo waves his hand away like he's wanting a fly. Bullchica. Speaking of that shit doesn't make sense. Kutsu shrugs. I'm starting to wonder. I fold my arms and I look towards the bathroom where steam is wafting from TJ's shower. Well, stop wondering. I don't want you ending up like them. I frown and glance back to the bathroom before lowering my voice. Like TJ? Leo sighs. No. One of those fuckers probably freaked him out or something. He did say he was seeing things. Leo suddenly stands up from his sitting position on the bed. You know what? We should just stop talking about this. We're leaving once he's done anyway. As if on cue, the water shuts off and the automatic dryer starts up. Right after that, TJ's meek voice pipes up from inside the bathroom. You guys still there? I call back gently, cheerfully. We're here, TJ. Leo sighs and moves to the window to look outside, pulling back the curtains just a bit. You think the others are out there right now? Your friends? Yeah. Jenna, Carl, Flynn. I don't know why I hesitated with Flynn's name. Leo silently stares out the window a while longer, the yellow light of the streets falling across his face momentarily. He lets it drop back into place. With any luck, they got the hell out of here when this started. Like I said, if they did, they would have brought someone back. Really, if anyone got out, they would have. Leo doesn't say anything, electing to lift the gun that he had clenched in his fist this entire time to examine it. Does that mean no one's gotten out of here? There's a momentary silence. Hello? We're still here, TJ. Kutsu shifts in his chair. Well, a lot of us here have relations outside the town. Family and work in Peyton, in fact. Kutsu checks his phone again. I'm supposed to be into work in like 5 hours. Someone's gonna notice. Maybe we should wait till morning. Someone has got to come looking for someone here by then. Leo thrusts the gun back into his waistband resolutely. Nope. Relying on others has gotten us nowhere. We gotta help ourselves. You might have a point, Leo. Your friend looks like he's in pretty bad shape, like mentally. Then I'll carry his ass to the van. I'm leaving, and I'm not leaving any of you behind. Leo stops and I follow his gaze to the bathroom, where TJ stepped out. His fur damp and a little spiky from the shower and a fresh change of clothes. He stands there awkwardly a moment, rubbing his arm as we all stare at him. Hey, how are you feeling? I'm fine. Things are more clear now. Leo gently smiles. Good. So you remember who we all are? TJ smiles weakly. Yeah, again, things are clear. You don't have to talk to me like that. Like like I'm crazy. Uh, Sorry. I clear my throat and try to assume a less talk to in a crazy person tone. Do you think you can make it to Leo's? You can stay here if you want. Wait for someone to find us. I ignore Leo's exasperated sigh from behind me. TJ glances at the bed. I'd like to just lay down, but he looks back at us, clasping his hands together. I think something is happening here. Something doing something to our heads. I don't know. Leo narrows his eyes. What do you mean? Um, TJ looks off to the side. I just saw things that shouldn't be here. This has never happened to me before, so... TJ looks down at his hands. I remember someone was chasing me, trying to grab me, and I scratched at it. TJ looks back up at us. And it was Jenna. But I was too scared. I didn't know if it was really her or not, so I ran, and she didn't follow me. TJ's starting to shiver again. Uh, um, what did she look like when you didn't know it was her exactly? TJ frowns, opening his mouth to say something, then closes it again. Finally, he looks at Leo, apparently deciding to ignore the question. Can we find her? I can't stop thinking about it, and I want to make sure she's okay. His voice gets a little broken, but he manages to control his tears this time. Leo grimaces. We really need to go, TJ. The faster we can get help, the faster we can help everyone here, including Jenna. The corner of TJ's mouth tugs down into a frown, but he doesn't say anything. But if we see her on the way, of course, we'll bring her with us, okay? TJ's still looking like he's trying not to cry, but nods quickly. Leo rolls his shoulder, keeping the gun pointed at the ground as he moves to the door. Now, everyone, stay close to me. Chase, keep with TJ. Kudzu, you bring up the rear. Got it? Alright. We're just gonna head up the street to the diner. Not far at all. I look up at TJ, trying to give him a reassuring smile. He's still looking at his hands though, so I move to him. Putting an arm around his shoulder, gently guiding him to the door. The trek to the diner is practically silent compared to just a few hours ago. Aside from the nightlife, there's no screaming or shooting. The way there is fairly straightforward, straight down the main road. However, we decide to cut through the backyards instead of using the road. Leo tells us it's the best way not to be seen if there are people around. TJ keeps close to me, wanting to keep my arm around his shoulder as we move. His eyes either squeeze shut or staring straight ahead. It's like we're moving through a haunted house and he's too terrified to look in either direction. It does get difficult to keep him close though, especially when we have to start to move through the bushes and hop fences. I opt to hold his hand instead. In any other situation, I'm sure TJ would have run running for the hills in embarrassment, but he clings to me like he's never going to let go. We all move in silence through the brush. Quiet is almost unnerving as the shouts and the gunshots were. As we move under a few straight trees, I try to keep the memory of the corpse strung up out of my head. There's no way a demon, or whatever they said it was, did that. It was one of the town crazies. Killed and mutilated the person to convince us of their delusion. There's 4 of us now, and 2 of us have guns. We're gonna be fine. We get there only after about 5 minutes, though most of it is spent floundering through the bushes and old broken fences. Because of the meandering, we actually miss it and have to backtrack. Cautiously, we make our way back around the diner to the parking spot and immediately spot the lone van. When we finally get there, Leo jogs up to the van, shoving his hands in his pocket. But then he freezes and stares down. Fuck. Me and TJ arrive next to Leo, and TJ finally lets go of my hand. What is it? I ask, but I see the problem at the same time as I do. The two tires that I can see are brutally splashed and completely flat. I bet the other two are in the same way. Leo puts his hands up to his face, rubbing his eyes vigorously with his palms. What? Who did that? TJ reaches out and grasps my hand again. Kudzu moves over to the other side of the van to inspect it. Brian. Leo growls out the name. How do you know? Leo doesn't say anything, sitting down on his hunches as he stares at the completely destroyed wheels. Who's that? TJ asks quietly from beside me, studying my expression. I wonder if I should tell him. Probably not. Him scared of seeing things is bad enough. We don't need TJ to be worried about an actual person who's out to kill us. I had actually completely forgotten about the bear up until this point. If it truly was him, then we're in even more danger than I thought. It's just another person that we saw. He was acting weird. It's alright. TJ doesn't seem to take much comfort in that, staring at the tires. Whether or not it was Brian, whoever it was, had done a number on these tires, completely tearing the rear tire to shreds. Kudzu comes from around the side of the van, shaking his head. Other two tires are the same. How far do you think we'd get on flats? Leo lets out a ragged growl and stands back up. Not far enough. We'd probably get to the lake before the goddamn wheel falls off. Leo stands there, thinking. Should we just go back to the motel? Leo shakes his head. No, I'm not going to stay here another minute. I'd rather start walking, actually. To the highway. That'd take half a day. Well, at least we'd be getting somewhere instead of sitting around here. I look down at the main street towards the darkness of the lake and the desert. The ominous feeling I get is overwhelming. Like, I have no doubt if we set foot onto the desert, we wouldn't last long at all. I don't know why. I shudder violently, and TJ glances at me. He squeezes my hand, and I find it funny how quickly the role of the one doing the reassuring is flipped. I think we should go back to the motel. Leo finally looks back up to me, and I see his expression soften. Hey, Otter. It's gonna be fine. I'm gonna get us out of here, okay? I notice it's the same tone he used with TJ earlier. He sets his hand on my shoulders, but I honestly don't feel very reassured. TJ pipes up from next to me. Carl. Carl's house has some cars. Maybe he's there. We could leave with him in the car. Leo looks out towards the hilltop where Carl's house is at. We can't see it since all the lights are apparently off. Maybe. If he's not there, we could just break in. I see TJ Blanche next to me. Even now, he's battling his moral values versus our needs to survive. I still just want to go to the motel and hole up in there and wait. Maybe sleep. I'd give anything just to be able to lay down somewhere safe right now. But now, with the new possible factor of Brian, I can see the benefit of getting the hell out of here now. All right. Leo sets his jaw, narrowing his eye. Let's go. Remember to stay close. We don't bother going off the road on the way to Carl's place, mainly because we'd just be trudging through sagebrush full of ticks at this point. Leo figures since Carl's house is only up the road, aside from through the canyon to nowhere, no one would be driving up there anyway. It takes us about 20 minutes to get there, walking in silence up the cracked road. The only sound, our panting. I'm the loudest considering my short legs, and also that I'm probably the most out of shape compared to the others. When we're close to the mansion, I look back down towards Echo. Only a few streetlights dot the small town. I don't see anyone on the roads near them. I see a window or two here and there with their lights on, but no movement from within. We only hear two sounds on our trek. One is the blurred curling scream from the town behind us. A woman. TJ reaches out for my hand again when that happens and I squeeze it comfortingly. A few minutes later, a faint laughter coming from further away that rises in pitch before fading out. I grimace, wondering if anyone else heard it, or if it came from inside my head. No one says anything, and I don't ask. By the time we reach the mansion, I'm covered in sweat. I keep adjusting my shirt uncomfortably as it sticks to my chest and shoulders. The garage door is closed, and there aren't any cars in the driveway. I wonder if maybe Carl already took off. I hope he did. We stand in the front door, and Leo holds out a hand to us, motioning us to be quiet. I watch his ears perk up to full extension before he moves to the glass on the door, cupping both hands over his eyes to peer inside. We wait a tense moment, and I wonder if maybe he's looking in on something horrific. But after a while, Leo pulls back, shaking his head. Can't hear or see anything. Maybe he's left, or he's with one of the others. Kudzu offers quietly, standing just behind me. Maybe. Leo appears to be thinking hard, and then reaches out for the doorbell with an index finger. He hesitates for a full 2 seconds before pressing it. The fancy chimes ring softly from inside. I notice Leo's got his hand on his gun, watching through the glass intensely. I notice that not only TJ is pressing close to me, but so is Kudzu from the other side, his shoulders slightly ahead of mine. It's almost like he's shielding me. A minute goes by before Leo tries again. Wait another minute before Leo lets out a ragged sigh. Whether or not it's from relief or frustration, I'm not sure which. Considering what's happening, you'd think some people from town would have come to loot or something. Yeah. I look back at the town, the few glints of light staring ominously back. I'm able to suppress my shiver this time. I turn back just in time to see Leo try the door, and to my amazement, it opens. Leo seems surprised too, and he lets go of the door to let it slowly swing open. We all stare into the blackness beyond, a few lights from the TV glowing in the darkness. Should we go in? Leo clears his throat. Well, we gotta get the keys somehow. Leo steps inside, hands reaching along the wall to find the light switch. He finds it, though the light only illuminates the foyer, the housing going from goddamn dark to slightly less goddamn dark. It's just Carl's kitchen, though. Nothing seems to be out of place as far as I can see. I start to step forward, but I can feel TJ hesitate on my hand. I look back at him. You alright? He's staring into Carl's house, his eyes wide. Yeah, I'm good. It's probably safer inside anyway, right? TJ swallows and finally steps in with me. Kudzu follows close behind. The mansion is pleasantly cool against my sweaty fur. There's something strangely comforting about something as simple as the AC still running. A sense of normalcy. Leo stands there, looking around intently before moving to the cupboards. Starts opening drawers and searching counters for keys. I leave TJ to huddle on the couch before moving to the kitchen myself. Hey, can we look for Carl too? Leo pushes close a drawer full of silverware. Yeah, give me a second. I sigh. I'll be fine. It'll be faster if I look for him while you look for the keys. Leo shakes his head. Gotta stick together. I suppress another sigh and move back to the living room. Somehow, TJ already managed to fall into a doze, curled up in a small ball on the couch. How are you doing? I look over at Kudzu, who's still got his arms folded, watching me closely. I'm doing okay, just kinda tense. Kudzu gives one more of his rare smiles at that. No kidding. Yeah. I glance over at Leo, who's starting to rifle through some drawers full of what looks like open letters. What's up? I look back at Kudzu. I'm just thinking about Carl, if he's here or not. I glance back at Leo. Hey, Leo wants us to stick together, but I look back at Kudzu. You want to help me find Carl? Maybe you can sweep the upstairs, and I'll have a look in the basement real quick. Kudzu glances at Leo as well. It'll make things go a bit faster. Yeah, I think it'll be fine. I really don't think anyone's in this house. Kutsu nods towards the window facing town. From what I've seen, people are mostly wrapped up in their own issues. Yeah, I don't think anyone's interested in looting here. Well, alright. I'll take a quick look upstairs. I smile. Cool. I'll take a quick look downstairs. Oh, and keep a lookout for keys too. And with that, we both move to the staircase. I give Leo one last glance to make sure he's not watching before we both head to our respective upward and downward directions. I flip on the light switch and head into the basement. And it's only when I stare in the dark hole that I'm heading towards that I get the first inkling of fear. I shake my head and remember what Kutsu has said. If anyone's here, it's definitely only Carl, and that would be a good thing. If we can find him, we can bring him with us, and we'll be on our way out of this hellhole. I tell myself this as I bounce quickly down the stairs, wanting to get this over with as soon as possible. Now in the basement, I glance around quickly into several doors here. A storage room, a weight room, a video game looking room. I start to realize that if Carl isn't here, he's most likely upstairs, and I'm really just giving the basement a cursory check. I start to rush though, not wanting to take too long in case Leo notices if he hasn't already. I reach the end of a long basement hallway, and I'm left looking into a smaller room. There's a tiny white wooden door, which I assume leads to the crawl space. I stare at it for a moment, not even thinking to bother with it, until I see little white hoof prints. There are several of them, like someone came and went a dozen times in and out of the crawl space. I look back behind myself, feeling a chill running up my spine, like someone's watching me. Looking back at the prints, I notice that the little door is just slightly open. Could Carl be in there? I remember that he'd been down there when we couldn't find him during the birthday party. So at this moment I catch a glimpse of something poking out from the door. It's skinny and hairy, and very long, maybe 6 inches in length. I stare, wondering if it's a Halloween decoration that they stored under there. Chase! Neil's voice booming down the stairs makes me jump, a foot in the air. I don't have time to stare at the black thing any longer, and instead stumble down the hall towards the sound of Leo's voice. The icy glare directed at me as I move up the stairs actually makes me cower a little bit. I'm not used to having his monolithic anger directed at me. I told you to stick together. His voice rumbles out at me. Sorry, I just found something. Well, Kutsu did too. Carl's upstairs. What? The thought of the hoofprint disappeared from my mind immediately. Tell me you were down here. Come on. More gently now. He grasps my hand and pulls me the rest of the way upstairs. I'm expecting us to turn into Carl's room, but instead we end up further down the hall. I think this is where Carl's parents' bedroom is. Carl's laying on the bed, looking over at TJ, who's in the middle, talking to him from the side. He glances our way when we enter the room. Leo. Chase. He squints at us like he's having trouble focusing. I smile and sigh with relief. Carl! I move onto the side of the bed next to TJ, and that's when I see that the ram is covered in a white-looking chalk substance. Reminds me of the prints downstairs. It's all over his horns, and a bit of it is what looks like drywall is covering the pillow around his head. What happened? Are you okay? Were you just taking a nap? Easy. Leo says to me, so I shut my mouth. TJ reaches out and I grab one of Carl's big hands. The ram just stares at the ceiling now, looking just as confused as we are. I look over at Kutsu, who's standing a little off the side, like he did when we were trying to talk to TJ. What happened? I mumble at the raccoon and Kutsu moves a little closer. I don't know. I just came in and thought he was taking a nap or something. I glance back at Carl, watching as TJ starts to gently pat his forehead. But he wasn't? Kutsu shrugs. He was sort of... I don't know. He was sweating and mumbling. I kept calling his name, like really loudly, to the point that Leo came up. Carl starts to breathe heavily and covers his face. I think think he's crying, so I take a step back a bit with Kutsu, not wanting to crowd him as TJ leans over and hugs him. It wasn't until Leo touched him that he woke up, like really suddenly. Huh? No. No. I'm fine. Carl lets out a weird, shaky laugh as he sits up, wiping his eyes. I was having a really fucked up dream. Felt like I was in it for hours, man. Carl leans, Carl leans back on his hands, staring at the ceiling again. I had a dream that the town went fucking insane, and then I ran back here and sort of just went downstairs. And then I was gone. Gone? Where? Carl shakes his head. I don't know. A hotel or something? A few hallways that went in circles, and I couldn't get out or wake up. Carl looks back at us. Even now, I don't know if I'm dreaming. At least there's people around. Carl shakes his head, a large cloud of dust coming up from the fur. What are you guys doing here anyway? Actually, the town did go a bit strange. What? Really? Leo seemed to hesitate, clearly not wanting to rile up Carl more than he already is. Yeah, but we're trying to leave. Actually, that's why we're here. We need a car. So, what I saw in town, however long ago that was, it really happened? Maybe. Like, people were running around shooting and stuff. He doesn't want to say anything to that. Why do you need my car? What about your van? It broke down. Carl narrows his eyes. How? Listen, I'll tell you everything on the way. We just need to get out of here now. TJ picks up some bits of white chalk from Carl's head fur. What's all over you? Carl runs his hand over his head, bringing it away to find it covered in white dust. Ran into a wall. Oh. Carl suddenly points at my arm. Dude, what happened? Huh? Oh. I lift up my arm and remember the cut I had gotten from the broken window. The fur is heavily matted down with blood, and the jagged cut is still oozing a bit. Long story. We'll explain, like Leo said. The ram stares at the cut, so I lower my arm. It seems to be finally settling for Carl that things are not right. I've also realized that none of us are immune to this new hysteria setting in the town. Is this what it was like for all those people living in the town over 100 years ago? I managed to humorously think to myself that I actually did do what I set out to do when I started this project. It's pretty clear that it's happening all over again. So, you got your keys? We need to get the hell out of here and get the town some help. Yeah. I'll go get them from my room. Quietly pull out of the driveway in Carl's car, which makes almost no sound since it's a hybrid. Leo's driving, of course. Carl's still woozy, and Leo had to actually help him walk around to find the keys. I sit in the back, between Carl and TJ, while Kutsu sits in the passenger seat next to Leo. I did overhear Leo mumbling to Kutsu next to him, for Kutsu to sit next to him. I'd overhear Leo mumbling to Kutsu to sit next to him while I helped Carl into the car. Something about them needing to be able to get out of the car quickly with their guns if things went down. Leo doesn't floor it like I expected, but we moved down the bench of mountain and through the town speedily enough. I see TJ look out his window intently. I can only imagine he's trying to see if he can spot Jenna and maybe even Flynn. Dude, I don't feel so good. Carl mumbles next to me, both hands on his stomach, twisting at the fabric of his hoodie. Just puke on the floor if you have to. I don't think Leo's gonna stop. Carl leans over and puts his head between his knees, groaning. That gets TJ's attention, and he starts rubbing the ram's back slowly. Good thing it feels like there's nothing in me. So, what the hell's going on? Where's Jenna? TJ frowns. We don't know. What happened then? I take a deep breath, trying to best figure out how to explain. Well, we're not sure what's going on everywhere, but on Saturday, I was at the diner with Leo. I go through my story as quickly as I can and explain things to Carl, what's been going on. The rest of the car is quiet, and I get anxious when I get to the part about Brian and skip over it as much as I possibly can. I only mentioned that he held me there for a day. By the time I finished, we were already passing the lake. Huh. So it's Sunday already? Sunday morning? Yeah, I guess so. So I was out a whole fucking day? I don't say anything in response. What happened to you, Tej? Are you okay? Carl turns his gaze to TJ, who just nods. Yeah, I was seeing things too. People chasing me. I'm okay now, though. TJ actually does seem pretty stable now after everything that's happened. Maybe taking care of Carl is taking his mind off whatever happened to him. Either way, he doesn't expand on what he saw. Carl shivers and puts his hand back down while TJ continues to rub his back. A few minutes of silence go by before Carl speaks up again. That kind of feels nice. Reminds me of my mom. Yeah, actually, my mom did it too. Thought it might help. Hey, I love you, just so you know. All of you guys. I'm glad I'm not in that place anymore. I love you too, Carl. And everyone else. You too, Raccoon Man. Thanks. Yeah. I affirm my own love for everyone. Kutsu glances back at us before turning his attention out his own window. Leo doesn't say anything from the front. He's focused solely on the road ahead of him. I watch as the desert whips by us, and for the first time feeling somewhat safe as the town disappears behind us. But of course, it doesn't last long. What's that? On the side of the road there. Leo turns his head in the direction that Kutsu points. We all do. What we see changes everything for me from that point on. Sure, things were crazy, and I had a hard time believing anything was happening. But it was explainable. People like Duke, Brian, TJ, and Carl were all seeing things. But it was kind of a distant thing, in a way. Something everyone else was experiencing. Something I was exempt from. But now, there it is. Something I can't explain right now, right in front of me. What is that? Oh my gosh! TJ covers his mouth, and Carl sits up straight, trying to see. Leo slows down as we pass. There's my car. All of the windows shattered. And there's Duke, lying a dozen feet away from the open door of the driver's side. And there, crouching over him, is something I can't explain. Hairless body and limbs long. Way too long. His head comes up and all I see are 3 holes of blood. TJ screams next to me. Leo shouts something before stepping on the gas, slamming me back into the seat. I try to look back, but whatever it is gone. At least, it's gone from where it was. Because I see something moving next to my window when I turn to face it. And it stares back at me. But only for a moment. That thing, whatever the fuck it is, disappeared almost the instant I registered it was there. I'm only staring out into the blackness of the desert. Still, 3 holes, 2 eyes, and a mouth blink back at me in a sort of after image before that vanishes too. What was that? What was that? TJ grabbing my arm, claws digging painfully into my skin. I'm too shocked to even pull away from TJ. I'm too shocked to even pull away as TJ leans forward next to me, staring out the window. At least I know I'm not the only one that saw it. TJ squeaks again when no one answers him. What was it? I don't know. Some kind of animal, maybe? I've never seen anything like that before. Could have...
had a disease. Lost all its fur, or something. Maybe Duke hit it. But it was walking! TJ's arms looped around mine, and I can feel his body shaking. I look over my shoulder and through the back window. At this point, my car is a good distance away, only visible because the headlights are on and the streak of light fading across the desert. Duke. Is he... Some dry retching noises followed by a heavy spluttering sound cuts me off. Carl is hunched over in the seat, head between his legs. It's hard to figure out what just happened, especially when the smell hits me. Oh my gosh, Carl! TJ looks torn between blanching away and comforting the ram. Carl comes back up, looking like he's about to say something before diving forward again. A much louder wrench, followed by a much quieter plopping sound follows. I grimace, feeling my own stomach roll. God. Kutsu looks back at us, paw up to his nose. You okay? Carl keeps his head down a while longer, his fingers twisting into the fabric of his shorts. TJ tentatively rubs his back. I would have done it out the window. I don't want to open any of the windows now, though. It's okay, Leo. Are there napkins up there? Leo, who's been silent up until now, remains silent. He's staring out at the windshield hard, paws on the wheel in a death grip. After a moment of silence, Kuzu checks the cup holder and then drops open one of the glove compartments. After rummaging around for a minute, he pulls over a stack of fast food style napkins. He hands them back to Carl, who starts mopping up the mess he made on himself. During all this, I'm still glancing out the windows. Not head on though, because I'm terrified I'm gonna look straight into those eyes again. We drive in silence for the next 5 minutes, with no creature in sight, thankfully. I don't know what to think right now. There's no way what I saw was some animal, like Kutsu implied. The way it moved, the way it crouched, and most of all, its face. I've never seen anything like it. At least, anything that's not a Halloween costume. Maybe one of the locals dressed up in a costume or something. But then how the fuck did it keep up with the car? Were we going that fast? Leo did slow down a little. I keep these thoughts to myself. Everyone looks freaked out enough without any more speculation. So instead I lean back in my seat, deciding to just close my eyes. We're on our way out soon. I'll be safe in a police station, or a hospital, or something. It'll be explained when the cops get here. I try not to think about Duke on the ground, Janice on the diner, Jana out there somewhere, with that thing. I shake my head, eyes still closed. Are you okay, Chase? Teacher's arm is still around mine. The places where our fur is pressed together is getting hot and sweaty. I don't mind though, as long as it brings him some comfort. Yeah, I'm just tired. Actually, now that I mention it, I am pretty tired. I didn't exactly get much sleep in Kutsu's trailer, or Brian's. I start to drift off as my head bumps gently against the headrest, the soft whir of the AC on my forehead. What the fuck? The car lurches and Leo slows us down again. Reluctantly, I open my eyes, half expecting to see some other kind of nightmarish ghoul out the window. But I don't see anything, just the road stretching ahead of us. What's wrong? Leo's quiet for a moment. I can't see his face since I'm right behind him, but I can see the outline of his twitching ear. I don't... Leo turns in his seat, looking out the passenger window, then his own. I'm heading the right way, right? I look out of the window and not seeing anything except sagebrush and cacti. Then I notice something. The mountains, which had been on the right, are now on my left, rising up ominously in the distance. Had we turned around somehow? Unless we're on the highway, which we definitely aren't. This road merges right into the highway. There's no way we could miss it. I hear TJ gasp softly next to me. I look over at him, but he's looking straight ahead out the windshield. I do the same in the distance, and I see the headlights off the side of the road. No way. What is it? Leo brings the car to a hard stop, throwing me forward into the seatbelt. Then he does a quick 3-point turn, shoving me right, then left. I'm smacked back into the seat as Leo accelerates. Whoa, careful, man. My parents will kill me if you fuck up their ride. Carl laughs nervously, but no one's paying attention to him. There's no fucking way. I was going straight. There's that side of the road that takes you on some trails. Maybe we sort of went off on... Leo snaps at the link suddenly. There's no way, TJ. That road is fucking gravel. I would have noticed. Leo hunches in the seat, like an angry dad, staring out the windshield, his ears practically dancing on his head. I can feel TJ tremble, so I lean into him a bit, letting him know that I'm there. It's clear Leo doesn't want any talking, so we're all quiet. This time I keep my eyes open, staring out the window in case Leo did get sidetracked somehow. I focus on the mountains, making sure they don't disappear. They slope up and down gently under the moonlight, speckled with dark spots of rock and vegetation. Vaguely, I remember back when I'd been obsessed with skateboarding, and I always imagined myself skating those slopes on car trips to Peyton, up and down, up and down. If only Echo had anything like that. The only slope we had was one down from Carl's mansion. It was way too big. I tried to skateboard down it once, and that had ended in disaster when I blinked, staring at the window as the mountains just disappeared, sloped down into nothing. I squint, then I look out at Carl's window. Sure enough, mountains. Leo. I know! Leo speeds up instead of turning around, though. This is... fucking possible. What are you doing? TJ's claws come out against my skin again as he gets scared and the cat looks into his eyes. Leo mumbles, mostly to himself. There's no way we're going back to Echo. Leo, slow down a little. Leo lets out a small growl, but relents, and TJ's grip on my arm loosens some. I'm gonna keep going until I see that car, because I sure as hell didn't turn around that time. The tone in Leo's voice keeps any of us from arguing, though I hate to admit it. Something about his demeanor has me just as scared of him as I am of whatever is out there. Another minute of driving, more awkward silence, then Leo hisses through his teeth. Straight ahead of us, the headlights appear. What? I must be dreaming. It's like we're stuck in some kind of loop. Leo slows down more until we come to a gentle stop. We sit there in silence, staring at my car about 100 yards in front of us. Leo starts muttering darkly to himself, looking out the window, looking at the dashboard. I want to ask him if he's okay, but I know what the answer is. TJ makes a soft whimpering sound next to me like he's trying not to cry. I finally put my arm around him. It's okay. It's just dark, and we're going off-road somehow. I whisper whatever comes to my mind to explain what the fuck is happening. Carl has his head down in his paws, completely quiet. He could be asleep for all I know. I think about suggesting that maybe we should just wait it out until morning in the car. But as I open my mouth, I hear scratching noise towards the back of the car. TJ's ears perk up to let me know that I'm not the only one. Instinctively, I turn around in my seat. Bits of glass fly into my face, and next thing I know, I'm cowering in the seat, head down as far as I can push it. Carl, very much awake now, screams at Leo. Go! 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 Leo's already on it, and I feel the car jolt forward. Then I'm bouncing up and down in the seat as we go off-road. Leo's not bothering with the 3-point turn this time, instead going for a full U-turn. We're back on the asphalt, speeding down the road, and when I feel safe enough to raise my head, I look back out the window. For a moment, I'm terrified that I'm going to find that thing crouched on the trunk, staring in at us, but instead, all I see is a giant hole through the window, the remaining glass jagged. Are you guys okay? Leo looks back and forth between us and the road ahead of him. I sit up fully. I think so. I yell at him over the sound of the car and the wind whistling around behind me. Carl is bent over in his seat, too, brushing glass from his hat and hoodie. I look at Tej, who's still crouched over in his own seat, covering his head. Bits of glass are scattered on his back and in his head fur. I pick some of the pieces out from his fur and neck and lean over to him. TJ, are you okay? TJ shudders and doesn't say anything as I pluck some shards from under their collar. What was that? Kuzu shouts back at us, staring through the window. I don't know. I don't want to think about that. I don't want to think about what I actually think it was. Leo keeps up the high speeds, hitting some of the potholes hard enough that I'm worried we're going to get a flat. Then we'd be in some real trouble. We drive on for another 5 minutes in silence, and then the headlights to my car appear in front of us again. This time, no one says anything, and Leo doesn't bother turning around. I watch out my window as we fly past my old car. Duke is still there on the ground. No movement from where we last saw him. Since this is the area where the creatures seem to be prowling, I look back out the window. I want to be ready in case it tries to come through again. But nothing happens. All I see is a small stretch of asphalt illuminated from the red taillights. All I hear is the wind whipping through my ears. I keep my hands on TJ's back as we continue to remain hunched over. Carl sits quietly, staring out his window. On the bright side, the bashed-in window has diminished the smell of the sick. Sparse dots of light show up over the horizon, indicating where Echo is. That's when Leo speaks up. Alright, what we're gonna do is head back to my house. You guys can get some sleep while I figure out what to do next. Leo pauses, but no one says anything. Sound good? Yeah, not much left to do. Leo grunts and hunches forward in the seat again. There's a sinking feeling in my stomach at the thought of going back to Echo. There is comfort in at least not being out in the wilderness, but I wonder if that's much worse than town, even with that creature prowling around. I stare out my window, watching the mountains move slowly by under the moonlight as we turn onto Lake Emma roads. I'm wondering if taking one of the mountain roads out of town would be worth it, whether we have enough gas when it happens. A crouched figure just sits on the peak of the hill, just about 50 feet from where we are. I squint, and I'm just barely able to make out what looks like shoulders, a head hunched up under the light of the moon. I'm directly across from the thing when I open my mouth, but I'm barely able to make a sound when it moves. It dashes down the hill in the blink of an eye, covering the distance between it and our car in a matter of 2 seconds. One moment I'm staring at the tiny black figure, the next thing it's right up against the car, smashing into the side between Leo's door and mine. My head smacks into the glass, and I see a flash of white. At the same time, I hear Kuzu shout at us to hold on. TJ screams, Carl yells. My feet are fucking freezing. I open my eyes and stare down at them. It's almost too dark to see, but I can hear the sounds of sloshing water and screaming. Chase! Chase! What? My head aches, and there's something in my eye that stings. Everything's blurry. Chase, are you okay? A big paw prods my chest, and I look up. I can barely make out the outline of the ears. Leo? Wait. And it hits me like the car crash we were just in. That thing. I look out my window again, but it's all shattered and spider-webbed, and I can see what looks like water pouring through. At the same time, I feel that icy cold sensation running down my back as water comes through the broken window down like a waterfall. We crashed into the fucking lake? Chase! I'm awake. I'm good. I grab my seatbelt, taking way longer than I should to get it undone. All the while, there's a bizarre feral yelling next to me, and I don't realize it's TJ until finding his claws find my chest and arms and dig in. Ow! TJ, stop! Calm down. But he doesn't even respond, continuing on with that god-awful sound. Through the window! Carl is already up on the rear deck, trying to push through the water coming in. Come on! Carl screaming, panicked voice disappearing suddenly, and I can only hope that it's because he got out. Chase! Chase! Come on! We need to get you out! I feel Leo's big paw grabbing me, but I turn to push them away. I'm fine. Let me help TJ. Chase! Leo, I'm a fucking otter! The water at this point is up to my chest. The car's front end is tipped into the water, and with the sparse moonlight coming in through the back, I can see it's up to Leo's neck. Kutsu is somehow in the back with me and TJ where Carl was. He's staring at me, eyes wide, looking torn between escaping and helping me. Go, Kutsu! Through the window! Leo, get out through your door! Chase! Go! I scream at basically everyone, and I can only hope they do as I say as I duck down and the water goes over my head. The quiet peace of the underwater is a sharp contrast to the fucking chaos my brain is in. Somehow, in the wreck, the back seat crunched forward, and TJ's seatbelt button is lost under somewhere in the crease. I grit my teeth. I can hold my breath almost 10 minutes, but I know for most other species it's less than 2. Far less if you're panicking out of your mind like TJ is. I grit my teeth and I calmly try to reach between the fold between the seat and the back, despite the desperate clawing the lynx is giving me. Again, though, it's far too wedged to get a hold on. Soon my calm demeanor melts, and I fumble uselessly with the seatbelt, and time stubbornly marches on. I feel myself start to panic as I grab around the body. I feel myself start to panic as I just grab TJ around the body and yank as hard as I can, but it's no use at all. And then when I pull on the chest strap, it's jammed and I can't get any slack. TJ's grasping and clawing starts becoming weaker. I try to think of something to use to cut the strap, but there's nothing. Maybe a shard of glass? I move up and away from TJ, towards the window, ignoring how weakly he's trying to clutch me. I reach up from the seat and my hand slips between the headrest and the rear deck. I reach in further and realize it's the trunk of the car. With the lunge, I reach down and feel along the bottom of the seat. Back. My paw runs up to something hard and metal, and I know I found what I'm looking for. I grab the buckle and unlatch it. Swimming around quickly as I can, I grab the strap across TJ's chest and set it free against my seat. I pull back as hard as I can, and just like that, it comes undone. I scoop up TJ, his limp body giving me an extra burst of adrenaline as I set my feet against the back of the driver's seat and push out. My aim is a little off, and my head hits the ceiling instead. I'm able to find the hole pretty quickly and kick through it. It's a little awkward to undulate my body into a nice clean swim with TJ's weight, but I manage it well enough, and within seconds, we break the surface. I breathe out in the air while TJ coughs and sputters. His arms wrapped around my neck tightly. I have a paw under his arms to keep him from strangling me. TJ, we're good. You're good. Calm down. I look around and I'm amazed to see how far we are from the shore. It's a good 100 yards away. I can already see Kutsu standing there, and Leo's in the shallows, shouting at Carl, who's a few feet further in, splashing around. I kick off in that direction, and TJ continues to hyperventilate in my ear. TJ, it's okay. Remember when you used to ride on my back in the lake? It's just like that. Just like old times. I try to adopt a soothing tone between my ragged gasps for air. TJ does finally settle on my back, though his arms are still around my neck. Still a lot better than having him drag me down with him. He gasps. His gasps calm down as we get closer to the shore, tapering off into some sort of weird mumbling sound. I can make out a few words, though, and one of them is a name. Sydney. I frown and swim a little bit faster, wanting him to get back to dry land so that he can get his wits back faster. Meanwhile, Carl finally grabs onto Leo's outstretched paw and the wolf pulls him back onto the shore. All the while, he stares at me and TJ intently. He didn't deserve. Shh. I shush him gently as I feel my toes find the sandy bottom of the lake. I gently pull the lynx back with me to the narrow strip of sand between the lake and the incline that slopes up into the road. Carl's already there, flat on his back, spread eagle. And I do the same with TJ, laying him right next to the ram. He's still trying to walk, though. Chase, did Sydney... How long did he... Gently, I put a paw over the lynx's muzzle. It's alright, man. Try to relax. Breathe. Kuzu stands next to me and starts to reach out to touch my shoulder. You okay? And then a much bigger paw comes out from behind me, pushing Kuzu's arm aside as I'm pulled into a tight hug. Leo huffs into my ear. Thank God. Thank God. You were under for so long. I'm okay. I reach back with the paw, setting it aside on Leo's face. When I bring it back, I see it's a bit darker than it should be. I look back immediately and see a gash on the side of Leo's face. Shit. Your head. Leo brushes off my paw. Your head. I think we both hit our windows when something hit us. I reach up and feel around for my forehead before I feel a sore, sticky spot in my fur. It isn't a bad cut, but it's definitely leaking a good amount of blood. It was that thing that we saw next to Duke. I saw it standing on the hill and it just ran at us. I look over at Kuzu, who's moved to stand over Carl, his arms hugging his chest tightly. Kuzu, are you okay? I'm fine. His response is tense and a little high-pitched. I don't know about Carl, though. He had a little trouble swimming back there. Carl let out a choked cough in response. I gently pull away from Leo and kneel down next to the ram between him and TJ. He's conscious, luckily, though his panting is a bit shallow. I set a paw gently on his head. You okay? Yeah. He says it like he's asking me a question. You sure? I mean, yeah. I'm breathing. I didn't mean to leave you guys, but it's fine. Staying with us would have made things much worse. It's strange to me how collected I am right now. I guess it's the same numbing feeling that I've felt since escaping Brian's trailer. Just take the fucked up stuff and roll with it. I'm not bad at swimming, but it was so fucking cold, and my clothes felt like 1,000,000 pounds. Looking at his thick sweatshirt, it isn't a surprise at all. TJ's quieted down next to me. His eyes are open, staring up at the sky as he chuffs quietly. They're so white and glassy, I see the reflection of the stars twinkling in them. I tentatively reach out and rest a paw on his head like I did with Carl. TJ barely reacts, continuing to stare up at the sky. Tej? I feel Leo's huge presence crouched down next to me as he gets close and whispers into my ear. Listen, we should get going to my house. I don't like being out here, especially if that thing really did do it. But, TJ, I don't know if he's able to. I'll carry him. And he does, scooping up Lynx into his arms like he's a baby. Alright, come on. We can rest in my house. Let's just get the fuck out of here. Leo starts trekking up the rocky slopes. Kuzu and I wait for Carl, who's laying on the ground a moment longer before finally rolling over and getting laboriously to his feet. I hold one hand, and Kuzu holds the other, and together we make our way back onto the road and back into Echo. The walk to Leo's house is short, only about 15 minutes, but it feels like it takes much longer than that. Every tiny sound makes me jump, and I'm stilling myself for the moment when I see that creature again. Nothing happens, though. No screaming, no gunshots. Aside from the crickets, the town is dead quiet. Still, we keep to the shadows, cutting through some backyards and sagebrush, probably picking up a dozen spiders and ticks along the way. It's funny, despite everything that's going on, spiders are the biggest thing on my mind as I push through the branches and foliage. Finally, the wolf's small house appears out of the dusty dark night. Leo walks ahead of us with TJ. TJ asks to walk on his own halfway there and is now clinging to Leo's hand like a kid afraid of getting lost in the mall. I don't blame him. As we were walking up to the house, though, Leo stops. Kutsu, Carl, and I crowd behind him. What is it? Leo puts his finger on his lips, then points to the window on the side of the house. It's broken. Shit. Leo lets go of TJ's hand and makes a stay here motion with the others as he starts creeping towards the house. With some difficulty and a few awkward sounds, Leo pulls his gun out of his wet pants. I scream internally at the thought of Leo going alone, but he is the only one with a weapon now. Apparently, Kutsu had lost his during the whole lake incident, which Leo is pretty pissed about. Leo tries the door, then disappears inside, reaching out to make sure that the screen door doesn't bang shut behind him. And then, he was gone. We stand there in silence for a moment. Then Kutsu whispers, "Hey, let's stand back just in case." Yeah, okay. Kutsu turns towards the road while I face Leo's house. Carl and TJ stand on either side of us. TJ hasn't said a word since Leo put him down. Ever since what happened at the lake, something in him snapped. Maybe we should have just gone up to my place. Carl gazes up sadly towards the mountain, his mansion somewhere hidden in the darkness. I don't know. If someone broke into Leo's place to steal stuff, they definitely want to do the same to yours. Knowing the town, Coots is probably right. Most of the people here resented Carl's family for the way their mansion looked over the whole town. Like they were taunting us, people would say. I keep my eyes on the house, trying to see through the black windows. Leo hasn't turned any of the lights on, and of course, so I can't really see anything. Listening doesn't bring any clues either. So, what do you guys think that thing was? I don't know. I still think it was a kind of animal. It practically bent the car in half. I say out the side of my mouth away from TJ. Maybe we should go inside. Probably safer in there, even if there's a burglar or whatever. Didn't the mayor say something about it? Like that it only kills us if we try to leave? I glance back at Kutsu. Is that what she was talking about? Kutsu shakes his head and shrugs his shoulders. I really don't know, Chase. So we go back to waiting. About to mention that maybe we should move closer to the house just in case when we hear a scream. It comes from inside Leo's house, and it definitely doesn't sound like Leo. Carl squeaks next to me. Shit! I'm already running up the stairs, though, and I hear the others following closely behind. I push through the door, almost running headlong into the bench where you're supposed to take off your shoes. Leo! I shout just as I realize that's probably a bad idea. A moment passes. The only sound I can hear is the heavy breathing of my friends behind me. Then, down here. Turn on the lights. His voice comes up from the hallway, and now it's calm. I move a paw along the wall before finding the light switch, revealing the kitchen. We move down the hallway towards Leo's room, where we can see that a light is on. Inside, I find Leo standing over his own bed. In the bed, I see someone else. A little polecat, disheveled in a tank top, looking even more skeletal than usual. It's Clint, curled up in a little ball, cowering. Leo has a gun pointed on him. Wait, please don't shoot me. I just needed a place to stay. Leo inches the gun lower. Then why aren't you at your own place? Kutsu and Carl stand next to me, while TJ stays in the doorway, gazing in at us from the dim hallway. Leo raises the gun again, and I actually think he's about to shoot Clint. Clint raises his paw, whining. Leo, wait. He helped me find Chase. What? Leo glances at Kutsu, then back at Clint. He came up to my door last night, told me he saw Chase in the trailer. I'm confused too, but I guess I never did ask Kutsu exactly how he was able to find me. I mean, my mind immediately flashes back when I saw Clint peering in at me from the trailer, asking Brian for drugs. I might not have found Chase if he hadn't told me. Clint nods enthusiastically to that, but Leo doesn't lower the gun. Wait, Leo, Clint hasn't done anything to hurt us since this started. Just... Everyone's gone fucking crazy. Might as well get rid of him too before he gets the chance at it too. What? What are you doing, Leo? Leo's got a hardened look on his face that I don't recognize at all. Wait, I know how to get out of here, I think. Leo's stance falters, but only just. What do you mean? That's why I'm here. Just get the gun off me for a second and I'll explain. Clint is twitchy, keeps scratching at his chest and arms. Comes off like he was able to find those drugs after all. Come on, Leo. It's all of us against him. He can't do anything to us. Leo keeps the gun up for a few seconds, then finally lowers it with a dismissive grunt. Alright, fine. How are we supposed to get out of here? Clint slowly pushes himself up to sit against the frame of Leo's bed, clearing his throat. Well, I think it might have something to do with the train yard. There's a moment of silence as we wait for Clint to go on. He just stares back at us, though. Well, stares at the gun in Leo's paws. Clint. Huh? Clint doesn't look at Kutsu, as his eyes remain fixated on the pistol. Leo, just put the gun down for a second, okay? On the dresser behind you or something. Leo shakes his head. I'm not risking our lives again, kid. Leo fixes Clint with a glare. The most I'm gonna do is keep the gun off you, Clint. Clint flinches when Leo says his name. I look over and see Carl twisting his paws around in the pockets of his hoodies, his eyes wide. TJ, on the other hand, is still standing in the hall, his eyes glinting softly in the dim light. For some reason, I get the feeling that he's looking at me. Tell us. Now. Leo's tone turns dark, and I look over, half expecting him to have the gun again. Still pointing at the carpet, but I can practically see Leo's finger twitch against the trigger guard. He looks almost excited. The Leo I knew would never be so eager to kill someone, even if that someone happened to be Clint. I hope that when this is all over, if we get out of this somehow, Leo is able to get back to his old self. Clint's shaking so badly he can barely speak. Finally, Kutsu steps in between them. Alright, Leo, if you want to keep the gun, that's fine. But can you at least step into the hallway? Maybe he'll calm down enough. No. Kutsu stops short, but I see him set his jaw, drawing up his shoulders. Someone actually might have information to get us out of here, and all you want to do is scare him shitless. I can see Leo puffing himself up too, and I don't like the look in his eyes, so I step forward on Kutsu's right, practically blocking Clint from Leo's line of sight. When I do, Leo's eyes snap into mine, the simmering snarl disappearing from his muzzle. Leo, come on. Otter, move out of the way. You know what I'm starting to get is like Shining vibes. You know how it affected everyone differently, and Jack is the one that got hit the hardest with it? I feel like it's kind of what's happening to Leo. His tone is gentle, like I'm some kind of kid. No, Leo, you're acting weird right now. Just calm down for a sec, okay? Leo frowns at me. Hey, I'm just trying to keep all of us safe. I see the wolf leaning his head to the side a little, like he's trying to keep an eye on Clint. Leo, let's go out into the hall. Kutsu. I give the raccoon a sidelong glance. Can handle him for a few minutes, okay? Kutsu nods. I take a few cautious steps towards Leo. He's looking between me and Kutsu now, and there's a different look on his face. One that I'm having trouble placing. I reach out and gently touch his arm. The muscles are hard, his biceps standing out thickly under his fur. Still, I gently try to push him towards the door. As I do, I feel him go a little slack, and a whole lot of relief on my part. He finally starts moving towards the hallway. Carl sits up. Carl, still gaping at the whole scene, suddenly seems to snap out of it, and hurriedly moves out of our way into the hall. Leo reluctantly continues to shuffle down the hallway as I put my arm around his side, hugging him to me. He responds with the same gesture. We pass the solemn-looking TJ, his eyes following me as we move toward the kitchen. You okay, TJ? He doesn't say anything, instead just slowly following us into the kitchen. His fur is still all spiky and used up from the plunge into the lake, and his clothes look uncomfortably damp. That gives me an idea. Why don't we all get our clothes into the dryer? Then maybe we can have something to eat. There's a moment of silence, and neither TJ nor Leo giving me any response. Carl gives a muffled cough, though. Actually, I could go for some food. About 20 minutes later, Carl, TJ, and I are all sitting in the laundry room, putting our clothes through a dryer. I can hear Leo in the kitchen, frying something up on the stove. While I should be worried about not keeping an eye on him, he's calmed down considerably since we were in his bedroom. Also, the laundry room is between the kitchen and the bedroom, so it'd be pretty hard for him to get past me without seeing. So I keep watch, leaning against the wall, staring out into the dark hallway. Carl sits on the dryer, vibrating along with it. TJ sits on the floor, cross-legged, looking at nothing. Oh, this feels so good on my ass, dude. What, the vibration? Oh, no. The heat. I was freezing and didn't even realize it. Carl knocks his hose against the side of the metal dryer. Hey, Teach. Want to join me up here? No, thank you. You could just lean up against the side. You gotta be cold too. This time TJ doesn't say anything, and I finally look away from the hallway. TJ, are you okay? Do you want to talk? TJ looks up at me again with those emotionless eyes. No. He says it too quietly. It's almost like he didn't say anything at all. I held his gaze for a while before looking away. Oh, don't worry about it, Teach. We're gonna be out of here in no time. Carl slides off the dryer, his damp underwear squeaking loudly against the metal as he clops to the ground. He gives a few strategic tugs at his underwear, probably to loosen the wedgie he just created. Then he sits down on the ground in front of TJ, cross-legged as well. TJ barely looks up at him, and I notice the link trembling slightly. Listen, back at my house, I was stuck in this weird trap version of my house, like there was no exit. TJ finally glances up at the ram. And well, thought I was going to be stuck there forever. And I was panicking. It was like a nightmare that wouldn't end. But then, right when I was giving up, you guys woke me up. I mean, sure, I sort of woke up into another nightmare, but at least it was with you guys, right? I hear shifting, then the bedroom door swings fully, and Kutsu appears, slipping out and closing the door quietly behind him. The raccoon spots me, moves over to stand next to me, his ears perked. Hey. I see Kutsu's nose twitch in the air, looking towards the kitchen. Leo? He's cooking. Ah. So, how'd it go? You were in there for a while. Kutsu sighs and leans against the wall of the hallway, looking back at the closed door. I don't know. Really. Said something about a train going through here the past few days after everything started. Through the rail yard? That's what he says. Huh. That didn't make much sense. That rail yard had been abandoned for the past at least 50 years. Are you sure he isn't just like the rest of us? Seeing things? Kutsu shrugs. I really don't know. Hard to tell with a guy like him. Yeah. Well, I remember some guys inspecting the rails a few weeks ago. Maybe they opened one up again. The idea also seems strange to me, but I don't know much about trains. So what if there is a train going through here? Are we really just gonna jump onto it? That was the plan anyway. Sounds like fun. My mind jumps to Robert Smith and what exactly happened to him when he tried to hop on a train. Even if we were able to get on the train, could that creature still get to us? It was able to knock the car off into the lake, so I don't know how capable it is. When does the train come? He's not sure. Said it seemed random. I sighed loudly. Then we all jump as the dryer finishes with a loud grating buzz. Oh, I hate dryers like that. I shakily rub my face and move to open the dryer. Well, at least we can get our clothes back on and we can go in the kitchen and tell Leo what's going on. We all sit at the table, eating quietly as Kuzu tells Leo everything. The food looks somewhat like some kind of vegetable stir-fry. The first bite reminds me that I'm starving, and it's hard to just try not to shove it all into my mouth at once. Carl, sitting across from me, does just that. That sounds like a load of bullshit. Katsu shrugs. I don't know what else to go on. Why would he lie anyway? To buy himself some time. Kutsu closes his eyes for a second, breathing in deeply. Listen, Leo. There's no way he's gonna try anything. He's scared out of his mind right now. Duke was scared. Didn't stop him from trying to kill us. It's probably worse that he's scared. Leo looks up the hallway towards the bedroom, and I'm starting not to like the look in his eye again. In fact, I'm wondering why the fuck we left him in the room in the first place. Leo starts to show his teeth. I reach out and rest a paw on the wolf's arm, again feeling the tensing muscles underneath the fur. Hey, Chase. I'm sorry. Hey, don't worry about it. But he jerks his arm away and suddenly turns on me. Why the hell are you on his side with this shit? You were with that fucking bear. You know what these crazies are doing. I wince internally at being reminded of the incident, but I try again, reaching out. Yeah, but Clint isn't Brian. You know, he was pushed around by that bear too. Leo pulls his arm farther away from me. He's looking back and forth between me and Kutsu again. What is this? You're both acting like I'm the crazy one. The wolf pushes his chair back from the table. I heard you whispering shit in the hallway. You've been saying things behind my back. Leo narrows his eyes at Kutsu. Whoa, dude, chill out. Why don't you keep eating, Carl? Leo shifts his gaze towards the bedroom again, before abruptly standing up. I'm gonna go check on him. Leo! I start to stand up as well, but Kutsu is one step ahead of me. He moves to intercept the wolf, both hands out. Come on, Leo. But he doesn't get to finish. Instead, the wolf goes straight into him, grabbing one of his arms and punching at its face. Kutsu sees it coming and is able to duck, but he's not quite fast enough. Leo's knuckle... I don't know if this is the right wording. Leo's knuckles graze off the raccoon's muzzle, knocking his head around. Leo keeps a hold of the arm and swings Kutsu around, away from the hallway and back into the kitchen. Kutsu takes the fall rather well, going into sort of a roll. He does end up banging against Carl's chair, but he comes up on one knee, panting, and staring up at Leo. His nose is bleeding. What the fuck? I'm standing before I know it. I'm moving around the table to stand at Kutsu's side. I look over him, trying to see if Leo had done any serious damage before I look back at the wolf. What are you doing? Carl clumsily tries to help the raccoon up, his ears flat against his head. Leo breathes heavily, staring down at Kutsu before his eyes flick to me. Get away from him. What? Get away from him. This time, there's a growly quality to his voice, and I see his finger drift towards his belt. I do move away from Kutsu, but only just. I don't want either of us to end up getting shot. Leo turns his attention to Kutsu. You. Out. Kutsu stares up at the wolf for only a moment before getting briskly to his feet. His breathing is so erratic, I'm wondering if he's going to have a panic attack. He gives me a single glance before hurrying out of the kitchen. I want to stop him and get in his way like he did Leo's, but the look on Leo's face right now has me frozen. I can't say anything as I watch the raccoon's tail disappear. I hear the door swing open and then bang shut. I look back and almost jump to see Leo's eyes are still on me, studying me. He stares a while longer before turning away, stomping loudly down the hall. Carl is frozen next to me and TJ just sits there, his eyes down on his plate of food, untouched. Still numb, I have to force myself to walk forward, following Leo, terrified of what's about to happen. Leo, wait! My voice is too quiet, too soft for even the wolf to hear me. The door ahead of me swinging open. There's a moment of silence. Then Leo curses loudly. I run into the doorframe looking inside, not sure what to find. What I find is nothing. No one inside. The covers of the bed are thrown back, the window wide open. See, I told you. Leo's voice goes from an almost scream to a hushed whisper as he moves towards the window, looking out into the night. He slides the window shut, then locks it. This is exactly what I was worried about. What? Inside, I'm more relieved than anything. For some reason, I'm positive that if Clint was still here, or if Leo had caught him in the act of trying to escape, I don't doubt he would have tried to shoot him. That stupid fucking raccoon, thinking he knew what was best. Leo continues to peer out the window, his ears perked up. I know what the hell's best for us. Thinks he can just come in and tell everyone what to do, see what happens. I start to move back into the hallway towards the kitchen, but Leo suddenly whirls around on me. His frown turns into a sort of uncertain smile. Hey, Otter, you okay? I don't say anything. I just stare at him. Otter? Vaguely, I can hear Carl clopping around uncertainly in the hallway, probably too afraid to get close. I try to speak, then wet my lips. Yeah. Leo extends a paw. Come here. Did I scare you? I fidget with my paws. No. Well, come on then. Slowly, I move into the wolf's room. Despite my dragging feet, my mind's racing, trying to decide what the hell is going on, and what the hell I'm gonna do. Leo's lost it. There's no question about that. It's something that I've sort of known for the past day, ever since we found him in Duke's basement. And now it's getting worse. A lot worse. Still, I continue to move towards him, like I'm in some kind of dream. Soon, he's got me wrapped up in his arms, and despite the warmth, despite the strength I feel in them, I don't feel good about it at all. I'm just scared. Chula. He breathes into my ear, sending shivers down my spine. I told you. I'm gonna protect you. I'm gonna keep you safe. That's exactly what I'm gonna do. He starts rocking me back and forth, shifting us on his feet like we're doing some kind of half dance at prom. He's trying to move us around so that I'm looking at the door and I can see Carl's horns, his eyes fearfully peering into the room. That raccoon. He wasn't good for you. Good for me? He helped me. Leo gives me a squeeze that almost knocks the breath from my lungs and it cuts me off. Maybe not. I could see him acting strange. Kinda like the others. The wolf continues to rock us back and forth, and I continue to look over Leo's shoulder, seeing Carl's eyes that this is definitely fucked up. I don't say anything else to Leo, worried that he might take it that I'm trying to convince him that Kutsu was only trying to help us. I'm going to get you all out of here, like I should have done from the beginning. Okay? Gives me a little shake when I'm silent, a little too long. Okay. Then he keeps rocking me like that for what seems like an hour. We make another revolution, and I can see Carl's not there anymore. Then I hear something. Soft at first, then louder and louder. Leo stops dancing with me. I can make out the rhythmic, dull, metallic sound accompanied by a horn. A train? TJ and Carl are standing up at the back door, staring out into the night. Leo pushes past them, ears perked as he tries to see through the darkness. The train sounds incredibly close, almost like it's only feet away. Should we go to it, like Clint said? Leo pauses, his nose twitching before he waves his paw at us. You guys stay here. I'm gonna go have a look. Leo. And just like that, the wolf disappeared into the night, leaving us behind. I stare out into the night. So, guess Clint wasn't shitting us after all. Yeah. All I can think about right now, though, is Kudzu. Did he hear the train right now? Is he on his way over there? I look to my right, towards Kudzu's house, only a few hundred feet away. Quietly, I start stepping outside. Chase. Carl's voice behind me is timid, scared. I look back at him, able to make out the whites of his eyes in the darkness. TJ lurks behind him, staring at me as well, though far more stoically. I'll be right back. I just need to check on Kudzu. Everything that Kudzu has done for me up to this point was saving me multiple times, making sure I was doing okay, nursing me back to health. Hell, even helping me with my project before all the shit went down. I'm not going to abandon him. Just like with Leo, when he was imprisoned by Duke. I feel it's my responsibility. Only this time, the urge is even stronger. I have to make sure Kudzu makes it out of here like the rest of us. Carl, though, doesn't look too enthusiastic about that. I don't know if that's such a good idea. You saw Leo. Carl looks over my shoulder, and I do the same, worried that maybe the wolf was coming back. But all I see is darkness. I realize then that Carl is just afraid of the wolf as I am right now. I swear, I'm only going to be away for a few minutes. If Leo asks, tell him I don't know. Tell him that I needed some air. That won't... I don't wait for Carl to finish the sentence. My eyes slowly adjust, but it's too dark to really see any more than 5 feet. The amount of stars overhead is almost dazzling, but it's not enough light to help me see. In fact, it's almost disoriented. The way the brown powder look of the sky clashes with the black horizon of the mountains, focusing on it too much makes my stomach turn, and I turn my eyes down, trying to focus on the barely visible ground, and whack, until my face slams right into something big, hard, and full of twigs. Jesus fucking god damn it! I shout whispers into my paw, covering my nose, afraid for a second that maybe I ran one of my eyes through. A quick but shaky examination with my finger puts my fear at ease, though now I feel like my muzzle has gone flat into my face. The jolt had me feeling all the aches of my past 2 incidents with the cars. I stand there in the dark for a moment, gathering my senses. It's almost completely silent now. The train has stopped. The train. If it was a train, has it passed us by at this point? The metallic links and rushing sound is far behind me. Standing in the silence, though, starting to give me second thoughts. I'm pretty sure there aren't any trees between Leo and Kudzu's house. Did I get off track somehow? Something cracks a little ways ahead of me, and I freeze up, my ears twitching. I listen hard, trying to hear anything above the crickets. Okay, yeah, this was really fucking stupid. I remember that I'm not all that far away from Leo's house, and look back to the yellow squares of windows in the distance. I should probably go back and reorient myself and try to get to Kudzu's house again. As I'm turning, though, another crack behind me, followed by a muffled voice. Shit. I freeze at the voice. I open my mouth and try to quietly call out, but stop myself. I can't be sure, but it sounded like Kudzu, albeit muffled and low-pitched. I decide to wait a little while longer with one foot pointed towards Leo's house. And then, this time, the sound is right next to me and I jump in the air. I make a run for the house and immediately trip over several rocks, going face first into the ground. I'm scrambling at the ground with my paws and feet when I hear the voice again. Whoa, Chase. I slumped back to the ground in relief. Oh my god, Kutsu, what the hell are you doing? I feel the raccoon's paw fill me over, then pull me back to my feet. I heard a train, then I saw someone. Are you okay? From the faint light in the stars, I can make out Kutsu's ears and the tip of his muzzle. My eyes have adjusted to the point where I can even see the mask in his fur. Yeah, I wanted to get you, in case we were going to try to hop on the train. I look over my shoulder, trying to listen for the train again. A little late for that, eh? Yeah, but I didn't want to leave you behind. I rubbed my face where I hit the branch. Listen, I don't know what's going on with Leo, but maybe we can go back and try to talk. Kutsu shakes his head. Nah, I don't think he's gonna listen. As much as I hate to admit it, Kutsu's probably right. Well, I'm not gonna leave you out here. After everything we went through. I see a glint of white teeth as Kutsu gives me a small smile. Wow. Well, thanks, man. But really, you should probably get back before he... At the moment, I realized something. Wait, what were you doing out here? You said you saw someone? Kutsu shifts slightly from one foot to the other. I thought I did, at least. Like someone from the town, or... I think it was your friend. What? The fox. Jenna. Jenna? My eyes go wide as I turn back into the darkness, squinting. Where? Where did you see her? Kutsu turns to look with me and then takes a few steps forward. Well, I was going back to the trailer after that whole thing with Leo. Then this fox girl just jumped up from the side of my house. Where did she go? My heart's hammering in my chest right now as I strain to see her. Jenna's been on my mind since the very beginning, and her absence has only become more prominent after finding the others. Well, I think she went off in that direction. Kutsu points in the darkness. I could hear her running off, but then the footsteps stopped, so I thought she might have stopped and hid somewhere. Come on then! I motion Kutsu forward and step into the blackness of the wilderness. Hold on. I was gonna go grab a flashlight. There's no way to find anything out there at this time of night. You go get them. I'll wait. Of course, I'm terrified of being left alone, but I'm also terrified of Jenna running away if I don't keep watch. I'm getting the feeling she might be under the same influence that Carl or TJ had been earlier. You sure? Yeah, I want to stay here in case she comes out. I wave him away. Okay, but yell if something happens, alright? Okay. Kutsu goes in and comes out within less than a minute, though it felt way longer than that. While he was gone, I risked a few loud whispers of Jenna's name, but didn't get any response. Pretty soon, a beam of light is sweeping the dirt, sagebrush, and cacti as we slowly make our way in the direction Jenna had run. Apparently, it was through the backyard and out towards the desert. I'm worried that maybe she didn't stop running. Why was she running? Did she say anything? I whisper softly to Kutsu as I follow along with them, one hand on his shoulder. No, just looked up at me and took off, looked terrified of something. I frown, my paw tightening a bit on the raccoon's shoulder. Maybe it's just because she doesn't know you, right? Maybe she was heading to Leo's place. Maybe. I try to focus on the sea of pale glow in front of me, the bright cold light of the flashlight sucking the color out of the desert. The grays and whites all sort of blend together after a while, and the swinging motion of the beam starts to lull me into a weird hypnotic state. It's at this moment that I catch movement out of the corner of my eye, on the right, where the light isn't currently pointed. I hear a sound of shifting dirt and gravel, immediately followed by a bizarre high-pitched snarl that makes me gasp in horror. I actually even piss myself a little as I see a glint of white teeth. Kutsu tries to swing the beam of light in the direction of the sound. At the same time, I try to pull him back with my paw on his shoulder. Whatever it is, hits Kutsu hard, knocking him back and sending him stumbling into land on his ass. The flashlight rolled away from the raccoon paws and shines in my face, briefly blinding me. I can sense a loud, growling commotion right in front of me, along with the sound of Kutsu grunting. Numbly, I reach out and snatch the flashlight up and turn to the sound. First, I see Jenna, her ears back, teeth bared, swinging her paws at a crumpled heap on the ground. That heap is Kutsu. He's got his arms up in self-defense, snarling back, his eyes wide. Jenna! Just like that, the snarling drops from her face and her eyes snap to mine. Chase? But then her position is suddenly reversed as Kutsu grabs the fox by the wrist and practically barrel rolls. Now Kutsu sits on her back and keeps hold on her wrist. Wait! Stop! I rush over to them, grabbing Kutsu's upper arm to try to pull his paws away from Jenna. It's okay. She's good. She recognized me. Kutsu only hesitates for a moment before scrambling off the fox and backing away, breathing hard. Jenna quickly sits up, absent-mindedly brushing her shirt as she looks up at me. Oh my God, Chase! She says in a hushed whisper, putting a paw to her mouth. Jenna, are you okay? I reach down to help her up, but she immediately goes in to hug me. I stand there awkwardly as she buries her face into my shoulders, gasping for breath. I'm not sure if she's crying or not. Are you okay? I ask again, patting her back awkwardly. Sorry, I'm fine. Jenna steps back and wipes under her eyes with the back of her paw. I didn't know where any of you were. Where were you? Jenna looks alright, for the most part, except for a bunch of dirt on her clothes and her fur. But then I don't know if that's from before or after she was wrestling with Kutsu. I don't know. I was out in the desert and... It's still dark, obviously, but I can make out the frown on her face as she seems to be struggling for the words. Finally, Kutsu steps in. Hey, let's get to my trailer. You can talk it out there, alright? Jenna silently nods, then seems to really focus on Kutsu. Wait, who are you? I step in for the raccoon. This is Kutsu. He's a friend. He saved me a bunch of times. That seems to be good enough for Jenna. With that out of the way, we all head back towards the trailer. Quietly, Kutsu lets us into his trailer, opening the screen door slowly so that it doesn't creak. He motions for us inside, and Jenna follows in behind me, pressing close. I suppose she has good reason to be wary of this place. She doesn't really know Kutsu, and at this point, it's even hard to trust people you know. Kutsu closes the door and slides the lock in place. Jenna is standing next to me in the small living room area, arms folded tightly against her body like she's hugging herself. Hey, you want to sit down? I gesture at the recliner, which Jenna stares at for a few seconds. I don't know. The fox's ears are twitching around and pointed straight up. I turn to the small love seat set against the wall instead. Maybe there? I can sit with you. After a few more moments of staring at the couch, Jenna finally nods. She walks stiffly over to the couch, looking at it for a moment, before finally sitting down. I notice 3 clump patches of her fur on the back of her neck, and it takes me a moment to realize that it's dried blood. Had someone attacked her? Had she hurt herself? Jenna still doesn't relax when we're settled and instead sat bolt upright, leaning hard against my shoulder. Much like her ears, her eyes are darting around the room, mostly over the curtained window to our right. Meanwhile, Kutsu elects to sit in the empty recliner after turning in a little to face us. The scraping sound it makes on the floor causes Jenna to jump. Kutsu pauses, blinking, then settles back into the recliner. Sorry, I really should put a rug under this thing. Jenna doesn't say anything, instead just looks back at the window. Kutsu shifts off awkwardly in his chair, then looks at me. I look at Jenna, trying to think of something to say. Jenna beats me to it. Do you know where the others are? TJ or Carl? Oh, yeah, they're at Leo's place. Them and Leo. Jenna frowns at me. Then why are we here? Let's go. She starts to stand up, but I reach for a paw, grabbing her arm. She flinches and yanks it away from me, standing up fully. Sorry. Just hold on a second. We
It's complicated. Why? Jenna takes a step back from me, folding her arms. The look in her eyes is worrying, like she's starting not to trust me. Look, Leo, he's kinda uptight right now. I guess I just wanted to give him some space. Give myself some space, really, away from him. Kutsu shifts in his chair again. He kicked me out. Things got a little heated between us. Jenna looks at Kutsu, the deep frown still on her face. Why? Leo wouldn't do that without a reason. She looks back at me as if wanting some sort of confirmation. I nod. Leo isn't really himself right now. I'm really worried about him. Can we go over there and talk to him? I open my mouth, but I pause, trying to think of the right way to say it. I don't know. Not right now. I'm not leaving Kutsu, so I'm gonna have to think of a way to get Leo to calm down. I'm almost considering just staying separate from him until we get out of here. But I don't want to tell Jenna that. She looks stressed out enough as it is. Now that I think about it, I wouldn't be surprised if Leo is out there hunting for me right now. Odds are that he's gonna come here eventually. Maybe. Maybe he jumped the train already. That reminds me though. Oh, yeah. We think we found a way out. Really? Yeah, apparently a train goes through here once in a while. We're thinking we can hitch a ride on it. Jenna takes that in and just nods. Silence drags out for a minute or two before I finally lean towards her again. It's okay. Just sit down here and relax for a minute. She does so with even more hesitance than the first time, sitting on the couch cushion like it might be a landmine. Okay, I'm gonna cut it here. Only reason is because my throat is starting to hurt a little bit. All the talking and I'm like coughing because of dry throat. I am gonna end that here. Shit is getting crazy. Leo is definitely not himself right now. He's almost like he's in a trance, right? Anyway, we'll see how deep the echoes ring next time that we come back. Hope you guys enjoy it with me. Take care of yourselves.